Hey everyone, in this particular video we are going to discuss about the MCQs on the costing subject for your SEBI Grade A examination. So we'll be covering a lot of MCQs from almost all the chapters from your syllabus, from almost all the topics from your syllabus, right? So आप अगर इन MCQs को बहुत अच्छे से करते हैं तो definitely you have a high chance कि आपके एग्जाम में भी इसी तरह के क्वेश्चंस आएंगे और आप आराम से कॉस्टिंग को यहाँ पे अटेम्प्ट कर पाएंगे, राइट? सो लेट्स गेट द डिस्कशन स्टार्टेड गाइज. MCQs on costing. Let's start the class. Let's start the class. The very first question for today is, which is anything for which a separate measurement is required? Dash is anything for which a separate measurement is required. I need a separate management for what? Sorry, measurement. Separate measurement for what? Option A, cost unit. Option B, cost object. Option C, cost driver. Option D, cost center. Or option E, none of the above. What do you think, guys? Dash is anything for which a separate measurement is required. What do you think is the correct choice here? Okay, John, cost center. What about others? I need answers from everyone. I need answers from everyone. Nancy, option B. Vaishali, option D. Okay. I need more answers. No negative marking in this class, right? So you guys can definitely share your opinion in the comment section, and the more you interact in the MCQ classes, the better your concepts will be. Dash is anything for which a separate measurement is required. Now this question came in an examination, right? It is a part of your examination only. This is one of the most important question, a very simple one. And cost object is the correct choice. Option B. Cost object is the correct choice. Option B. Dash is anything for which a separate measurement is required. So cost object is a thing for which we need separate measurement. Now what cost object is? Anything for which we need a separate measurement. When I need a separate measurement, let's suppose I have two products, product A and product B. Now I need two measurements. I need two measurements, right? So these products are my cost objects. Or maybe I'm offering a service. That is also a cost object, right? That is also a cost object. Let's suppose I manufacture bricks. So there are two types of bricks. There are two types of bricks. One is the normal brick and another one is the cement brick, right? So I need separate measurement for both of them. So that means they are my cost objects. That means they are my cost objects, right? So option B here is the correct choice. Next one, a taxi provider charges minimum 80 rupees and thereafter 12 rupees per kilometer of distance traveled. What kind of behavior is this? Fixed, variable, administrative, traveling cost, or semi-variable cost? What do you think? The taxi provider will first take 80 rupees from you, and then he will start charging 12 rupees per kilometer for the distance traveled. The behavior of this cost is variable, fixed, administrative, traveling, or semi-variable. Everyone in the comment section, everyone. I need answers from each and every student here. That's what the main purpose of this class is. Otherwise, you can just watch the recorded video as well at 1.25. Right? So interaction is the core here. Interaction is the core here. The correct choice here is option E, semi-variable cost. Why? Because this will be the fixed cost. Minimum charges. It doesn't matter if you travel 1 kilometer or 100 kilometer, you need to give the bare minimum 80 rupees. Right? And the more you travel, the more will be your variable cost. So this is your semi-variable cost. A part of it is fixed cost and a part of it is variable in nature. Right? So we are starting with easy questions, easy to moderate questions that have a higher chances of coming in your phase 1 examination. And this is not just for phase 1, this is for both your phase 1 and phase 2. These MCQs will help you in your phase 1 as well as phase 2. Right? Next one. In managerial accounting, one of the processes focuses on identifying the reason for differences between the actual cost and the budgeted cost and fixing responsibility of these variances. This process helps in improving the cost management and making better strategic decisions. Which term best describe this process? Cost allocation, cost estimation, cost analysis, cost control, or cost reduction? What do you think? Read the question once again if you want to, but answer me in the comment section and everyone has to answer. Everyone has to answer. First, what we are doing, we are focuses on identifying the reasons. Here we are identifying the reasons for differences between the actual cost and the budgeted cost. And then we are fixing responsibility for these kind of variances. So this process helps in improving the cost management and making better strategic decisions, which is the best term to describe this process. I can see the majority of the answers option C, which is cost analysis, and cost analysis is the correct term here. What I'm actually doing is I'm just analyzing what was my budgeted cost, what is my actual cost, and I'm trying to fix the variances. I'm trying to fix the responsibility for these variances. So this is a part of your cost analysis, right? This will be a part of your cost analysis. Let's quickly read the definition of cost analysis. It involves the process of finding out the factors responsible for variance in the actual cost and the budgeted cost. Why there is a variance? So don't you think we are analyzing something? We are analyzing something, and accordingly we are fixing the responsibility of these differences. Option C, cost analysis, is the correct answer. A direct question from the definition, and I have seen from the past 2 years they are directly picking the terminologies, they directly pick words from the definition and ask the question, right? So that's why there is a need of reading line by line. That's why there is a need of reading line by line. Why? Because this is a very simple question, but in the examination you can select any other option as well. Why? Because most of the options are quite, I can say, closely related with each other, right? So that becomes a huge problem in the examination. Why? Because we never did the line by line reading. We just attended some of the live classes. We are reading summary notes and that's it. No, that won't work. That will definitely help you gain marks in the examination, but if you want to be in the top 1%, you need to read line by line after the classes also. The process of recovering the overheads of a cost center from its output is known as what? The process of recovering the overheads of a cost center from its output is known as what? What we are actually doing here. So what do you guys? Options are in front of you. Let me know in the comment section. We are just trying to recover the overheads, right? We are trying to recover the overheads. What we are actually doing? John, Nancy, Vishali, Abdul, option C. Any other opinion, guys? Anyone? Raghu, option C. Okay, I can just see 4-5 answers. We are so many in the class. Still, I'm getting 5 to 6 answers. What about the other students? What about the other students? So many students in the class, but the answers are just 5 to 6. Have you just started your preparation? Facing any difficulty while answering the question? You can share it with me. The whole purpose of this class is that you guys can interact. Just give me a second. Just give me a second. There's some power cut issue here. Okay, perfect. So guys, the correct choice here is, what we are actually doing, we are just recovering the overheads. So that's called as cost absorption, right? That's called as cost absorption. Option C is the correct choice. Here, option C is the correct choice, right? Option C is the perfect choice, cost absorption. What we are doing, we are just trying to recover the overheads from of the cost center from its output. So we are absorbing the overheads here. Next one, dash is regarded as the specialized branch which involves classification, accumulating, assigning the cost and controlling the cost also. Option A, costing. Now the same question we have done in the paid classes as well. So those who are attending regularly the paid classes, they can easily answer this particular question. Option A, costing. Option B, cost accounting. Option C, cost accountancy. Option D, cost, or none of the above. What do you think is the correct choice here, guys? Dash is regarded as a specialized branch which involves classification, accumulating, assignment, and controlling the cost. I can see that one student is writing a particular option and rest of the students are also following the trend. Is it really the matter? Whether we do classification, accumulation, or assignment in cost accountancy, do you think that? Or do you think that cost accountancy is more of a art, it's more of a science? And that's what happens in the examination also. This is a very simple question and a very direct question. We have done it in the paid classes as well, in the first session itself. In the first session itself. Now costing is a process. Cost accounting is the one which involves classification, which involves accumulation, which involves assignment of cost, right? So cost accounting is a specialized branch of accounting that focuses on classification, accumulation, assignment, right? Cost accounting, option B is the correct choice here, right? Cost accounting involves classification, recording, appropriate allocation of expenditure, determining of the cost of the product. Cost accountancy, on the other hand, is a separate thing. It's an art, it's a science, and a practice of cost accountants, right? Now that's what happens when we leave the subject and we try to switch to some other subject, right? And that's completely natural. I call it as a normal loss. We have studied the concept of normal loss, right, in the process costing, and this is also a kind of example of normal loss only. जब भी आप subject switch करते हो, whenever you are switching a subject and you stop revising the previous one, the normal loss starts increasing. अब नॉर्मल लॉस इतनी तेजी से बढ़ता है, अब प्रोसेस कॉस्टिंग में तो 5-10% का होता है, यहाँ पे 50-50% का होता है. आप वो सब्जेक्ट ही भूल जाते हो, राइट? वाई? बिकॉज उसके रिविजन नहीं हुए. क्लासेस के टाइम पे आपको लगा कि सर ये तो बहुत सिंपल है, इट्स टू इजी. बट multiple revision is the key here that you need to remember, guys. Okay, next one. If I am working in a power sector, let's suppose I have some company which is involved in power sector. Can you tell me the cost unit which will be used in my company? The cost unit which is used in power sector. Take your time and then answer the question, okay? I request everyone to please at least read the option. There is no hurry. There is no hurry. I can understand that when the question is simple, we are too excited to answer the question, right? So we have to take few seconds and then try to understand the question. That will be the perfect approach. Here the correct choice is option E, kilowatt hours. Very good, everyone. Kilowatt hour is the cost unit that I'll be using in the power sector, right? That's the unit I'll be using in the power sector. Next one. Which of the following is an example of functional classification of cost? Functional classification of cost: direct material, fixed cost, administrative cost, indirect overheads, variable cost. What do you think will be the correct choice here, guys? Functional classification, not the element classification. functional classification. How many functions I have in my organization? I can have many function. I can have production function, administrative function. I can have selling and distribution function. That's what function is all about. Direct material cost will be based on elements, right? That's a more specific answer. That's a more specific answer. Here, functional classification, administrative cost will be an appropriate answer, right? Now you can have confusion in option A and C, and that's totally fine. That's totally fine that you are having a confusion. That means you are actually thinking, right? क्योंकि जब मैंने वहां पढ़ाया था तो दूसरी चीजें भी आई थी, but when I talk about administrative, it is actually a function. It is actually a function, whereas a direct material is rather an element, right? It's rather an element. So here option C, administrative overheads, will be the correct choice, and you will be having some of the MCQs in the exam also that you guys will not be able to decide which option is the correct one, right? And that's where you need to trust your judgment that administrative is actually a function. It is actually a function, right? Next one. Which of the following is true about cost control? It's a corrective function. Option A. Option B, it challenges the set standard. Option C, it ends when the target is achieved. Option D, it is concerned with the future, or all of the above. Which of the following is true about cost control? In the examination, you can see some questions which you didn't prepare for, and here we need to exercise our judgment, right? I'll be sharing with you today the difference between cost control and cost reduction, which is another concept that we need to study, right? The difference between cost control and cost reduction, we will discuss it right now in the class itself. The correct choice here is option C, it ends when the target is achieved. The moment I have achieved my target, the cost control exercise will end. The cost control exercise will end. Acha, tell me this one. Which of the following is not true about cost control and cost reduction? There are two terms, cost control and cost reduction. I'll tell you the difference also after some questions. Number one, cost control seeks to attain lowest possible cost under best condition. Option B, cost control emphasizes on the past and present. Option C, cost reduction is a corrective function. It operates even when an efficient cost system exists. Option D, cost control ends when the targets are achieved, that we have seen in the previous question. Option E, none of the above. You have to identify the statement which is not true, which is not true. You have to identify the statement which is incorrect here, right? Which is incorrect here. Now the first statement, which is option A, cost control seeks to attain lowest possible cost under best circumstances. I don't think we ever have a best circumstances. In any circumstances, in the present circumstances, cost control has to attain the lowest possible cost. Now this is a difficult level question. This is a kind of difficult level question. Even it is asked from a very basic topic, still you guys can feel the high difficulty level of this particular question, and that's totally fine. Why? Because it is based on a particular word, best conditions. We never aim for best conditions. Whatever condition is prevailing, we have to manage it, right? We have to manage it. So very good, Kushwant and John. Option A is the correct choice. Option A is the correct choice. Okay, next one. Cost management techniques. Cost management techniques differ in terms of their objectives and approach. Some methods focus on keeping the cost within the predetermined levels, while others aim to break those limits to achieve the continuous improvement. Which of the following best describes the cost control. So you need to identify the statement which best describes the word cost control. Option A, it focuses on eliminating the cost permanently by challenging the existing standards. It considers no cost level as permanent. Option C, it continuously revises the standards and reduce the future cost. Option D, it aims to maintain the cost as per the established standards. Option E, it tries to achieve lower cost by altering the future conditions. This is regarding cost control. Okay, this is regarding cost control. Perfect, guys. It aims at maintaining the cost as per the established standards. Whatever standards we have set, we need to maintain the cost in accordance with that standard, and that's what control is. That's what control is. If I give you 1 lakh rupees today, and if I tell you that you need to manage your expenses within 1 lakh itself for 1 month. Now, whatever your established standard here is, 1 lakh rupees, your established standard here is, you need to aim for maintaining the cost as per 1 lakh rupees, right? That's why D is the correct choice. What you are exercising here, you are controlling the cost. You are controlling the cost so that you are not exceeding the established standard. Perfect. Next one. Some cost techniques are ongoing with no clear endpoint. We don't have any endpoint of this. This is a big hint. While others stop once the objectives are achieved. Now, if you did the very first question of cost control, you will be able to solve this one as well. Which characteristic is true for the cost reduction? Some cost techniques are ongoing. There is a big hint in the question itself. No clear endpoint is there. Option A, ends as soon as the actual cost matches the standard cost. Option B, has a defined endpoint once savings are achieved. Option C, it is a continuous, never-ending exercise. Big hint. Maintains cost within the established limits, focuses on the past comparison. Now, any student who is not even aware about this topic can also attempt this question by making a calculated guess, because in the first line itself, they have given you a big hint. They have given you a big hint that it is a continuous process and a never-ending exercise. And in the very first question, we have discussed that cost control is having an end target. When the target is achieved, it concludes. But if I talk about cost reduction, it is a continuous exercise. It's a never-ending exercise. So 2 hints from this particular section, right? So this is the difference, guys, between cost control and reduction. Cost control, we need to maintain the cost in accordance with the established standards, but cost reduction is always concerned with the reduction in the cost. I will challenge my standards. Why 1 lakh rupees? I can manage my expenditure in 80,000 rupees also. That's cost reduction. But cost control, I will limit my cost up to 1 lakh. That's what the difference is. I will limit my cost to the budget, whereas here I challenge my budget. अरे बजट क्या होता है, मैं तो इससे भी कम में काम चला लूंगा. That's cost reduction. मैं 1 लाख में काम चला लूंगा. That's cost control. मैं इससे भी कम में काम चला लूंगा. That's cost reduction. Right? So here we challenge all the standards. ये important term है इसका. This is one of the most important line here. Right? इस पे direct question आ सकता है कभी भी. ठीक है? अभी तक बहुत ज्यादा questions on this topic they have not asked in the examination, but they can definitely ask in the upcoming examination. So we need to be prepared for that. And don't do any kind of analysis कि पिछली बार ये question आया तो इस बार नहीं आएगा, पिछले 4 साल से ये नहीं आया तो ये नहीं आएगा. ऐसा नहीं होता है, right? ऐसा नहीं होता है. We have to make our understanding based on the PYQ. We have to solve relevant questions, but at the same time we also have to try some new questions also that have a higher probability, that are having a higher probability in coming the examination, right? In coming in the examination. So they can definitely ask you certain questions that are related to basics. Cost control seeks to attain lowest possible cost under existing conditions, not best conditions, not future conditions, but in existing conditions. And that's why cost control focuses on past and present, whereas cost reduction focuses on present and future. We don't care about the past. I can't go to the past and reduce my cost. अरे पिछले महीने 1 लाख रुपए खर्चा कर दिया, अब क्या पिछले महीने वापस टाइम मशीन लगा के पीछे जाऊं, उसको रिड्यूस करूं? दैट्स नॉट पॉसिबल, दैट्स नॉट प्रैक्टिकल, right? So I can reduce it either now or going forward. That's why cost reduction is more related to present and future, whereas cost control is related to past and present. पिछली बार 1 लाख में काम चलाया था, इस बार भी 1 लाख में काम चला लूंगा, कॉस्ट कंट्रोल. इस बार 1 लाख से कोशिश करता हूं 80,000 पे आ जाऊं. लेट्स ट्राई कि फ्यूचर में आई कैन मैनेज इट इन 60,000 itself. कॉस्ट रिडक्शन. अच्छा, cost control is preventive, cost reduction is corrective. Here we are preventing not to cross the threshold of 1 lakh rupee, but in cost reduction we are corrective. Let's correct it to 80,000, let's correct it to 60,000, right? Fifth, cost control ends where the targets are achieved. I told you to do an expenditure of up to 1 lakh only, don't cross the limit, your target is achieved. If you did that, your target is achieved. But when I talk about cost reduction, it has no visible end. It has no visible end. जिसको पैसा बचाना होता है उसके लिए कोई end date नहीं होती, right? He or she will always try to reduce the cost. उसके लिए नहीं होता कि 1 लाख रुपए लग रहे थे, मैंने 80,000 कर दिया, मैंने 60,000 कर दिया. No, he will keep on trying to reduce the cost. That's what the main difference between cost control and reduction is. Next question. Ticket counter in the railway station is an example of what? There's a railway station and there's a ticket counter also. There's a ticket counter also. Is it a cost center? Is it a revenue center? Profit center, investment center, or none of the above? Or none of the above? What do you think is the correct choice here? Take your time. आराम से reply करो, कोई जल्दी नहीं है, right? Take 2-3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, no worries at all. Here the correct choice is revenue center. Why revenue center? What will happen on the ticket counter? The ticket counter will sell tickets to generate revenue. The ticket counter will sell tickets to generate the revenue. So that's why we call it as a revenue center. We call it as a revenue center, right? So there are so many centers like cost center, revenue center, profit center, investment center. I have given the explanation also. Later on, you can download this PDF. वैसे they are self-explanatory in nature. Say for example, if I talk about the production department, that will be my cost center. That will be my cost center. My sales department will be my revenue center. Next question. A company is considering whether to continue renting the machinery or to purchase it outright. So as of now, I'm thinking to rent a machine, which I'm already doing, continue to renting a machine, or I'm thinking to purchase a new machine. The cost of renting the machine over the past years represent what kind of cost? Represents what kind of cost? Options are in front of you. Let me know in the comment section. Take your time and then answer. I'm thinking to continue renting the machine or to purchase a new one. I'm thinking to continue renting the machine or to purchase new one. What about the rent of the past years represent what kind of cost? Opportunity, sunk, incremental, none of the above, explicit, what kind of cost? So I'm having so many opinions here. रघु, अब्दुल, वैशाली ऑप्शन सी, नैन्सी बी, जॉन ए. सो ए हो गया, बी हो गया, सी हो गया, डी और ई भी कोई बोल ही दो यार. डी और ई भी कोई बोल ही दो तो हमारे पास सारे ऑप्शंस हो जाएंगे, फिर डिस्कशन करने में भी मजा आएगा. 3 ऑप्शन तो आप लोगों ने बोल दिए. There is a keyword. There are 2 keywords in the question. The first hint, when the question started, whether to continue renting the machinery, that's the first hint. A slight hint, I will say. A very slight hint. I will continue. Yes, confused between B and C, Vaishali. Perfect. Let's solve the confusion. Let's solve the confusion. The first hint, I will continue renting the machinery. That means I was already renting the machinery. I was already renting the machinery. Now I'll tell you, Vaishali, why you are confused between B and C. Because they have given you 2 options. Purchase it or rent it. Purchase it or rent it. That's why you guys are confused in the opportunity cost or sunk cost. Whether this will be your opportunity cost or a sunk cost. But there is no place for this confusion. Why? Because this is not a rent or purchase question. In the second part of the question, we can see the intention of the question. The cost of renting the machine over the past years represent what? This is a sunk cost. This is a sunk cost. Why? Because we don't care about the opportunity here. They are asking us, what about the rent cost that we have already paid in the past? This is a sunk cost. Past cost is always a sunk cost. Right? Yes, perfect. So big hint in the question itself. Big hint in the question itself. ये सेकंड वाला वर्ड पढ़ने के बाद सारे कंफ्यूजन दूर हो जाने चाहिए. अपॉर्चुनिटी कॉस्ट इसका कभी भी आंसर नहीं हो सकता. क्यों नहीं हो सकता? कंफ्यूजन डेफिनेटली वो क्रिएट कर सकता है, राइट? बट सेकंड पार्ट पढ़ते ही यू शुड बी क्लियर कि दिस इज नॉट अ रेंट और बाय डिसीजन. सो देयर इज नो प्लेस फॉर अपॉर्चुनिटी. दे आर क्लियरली आस्किंग renting a machine over the past years. What about the cost that I have already paid for renting the machine in the past year? I can't do anything about that. There's no time machine as of now, right? No one knows with the advancements of AI. क्या पता कोई टाइम मशीन भी आ जाए साथ में तो फिर बात कर सकते हैं. बट अभी के लिए कोई टाइम मशीन है नहीं, तो वी कांट गो टू द पास्ट एंड चेंज द कॉस्ट. दैट्स व्हाई आई एम से कि जो हो गया वो हो गया. वी से राइट, जो हो गया वो हो गया. अब हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते. That's what sunk cost mean. That's what the meaning of sunk cost is, right? Next one. Dash is the practice of charging all cost, both variable and fixed, to operations, processes, or products. Options are in front of you. Take your time and then answer the question. Take your time and then answer the question. Try to understand the intention of the question, what they are trying to ask, because you can definitely get confusing options. जैसे अभी हम सब कंफ्यूज हो रहे थे कि अपॉर्चुनिटी होना चाहिए, संक होना चाहिए, तो ये कंफ्यूजन एग्जाम में भी आने वाला है, राइट? ये कंफ्यूजन एग्जाम में भी आने वाला है. एंड मोस्ट ऑफ द क्वेश्चंस, काफी सारे ऑप्शंस ही ऐसे दिए जाएंगे जहां पे आप लोग कंफ्यूज हो गए. Perfect. So there you go. Absorption costing is the correct choice. Here we absorb both variable as well as fixed. In the absorption itself, we absorb both the cost, whereas in marginal, we only consider the variable cost. Acha, in marginal, what about the fixed element? What about the fixed element? We consider it as what? We consider it as what? In the marginal costing, if I talk about the fixed element, we consider it as what? Are in absorption costing, we consider both the cost as product cost. In Marginal costing, we consider only variable cost as product cost. What about fixed cost? What about fixed cost? In marginal costing, we consider it as what kind of cost? We consider it as a period cost. We consider it as a period cost, right? We consider fixed cost as a period cost in marginal costing. In marginal costing, right? Next one. Direct material can be classified as what? Variable, fixed, semi-variable, prime cost, factory overheads. Now you can get confused in this question, but this is one of the most direct question. This is one of the most direct question. If I talk about direct material, usually it is variable in nature. Usually it is variable in nature. Usually it is variable in nature. Now because you have studied the cost sheet, you know that prime cost is direct material cost plus direct labor cost plus other direct expenses. That's what prime cost is. But usually the direct material is classified as a variable cost. Why? What is direct material? Let's suppose I'm manufacturing this pen. Yes, definitely it's a part of prime cost. Definitely it's a part of prime cost. But variable cost will be more specific here. Variable cost will be more specific here. Or maybe they are not giving you the prime cost in the option in the examination. Why? Because this will make the question contradictory in nature. I could have also eliminated this word prime cost. It makes the question contradictory in nature. Let's suppose this is a pen, right? This is a pen which I manufacture. So the plastic I'm using in this pen is a direct material. It's a direct material. The more pen I manufacture, the more plastic I need to incorporate. The more plastic I need to incorporate. That's why we say that it is a kind of variable cost. But yes, this question is contradictory in nature. It has two answers. Prime cost is also not a wrong answer. I'm not saying that prime cost is a wrong answer. And we have contradictory questions in the examination also. इस तरह के क्वेश्चन आते हैं. अभी मैं आपको एकदम सिंपल क्वेश्चन प्रैक्टिस करवाऊं और फिर आपको बोलूं कि इस तरह के क्वेश्चन नहीं आते हैं, तो मैं आपको बता देता हूं आते हैं, राइट? कितनी बार तो स्टूडेंट्स आके ढंग से रिकॉल नहीं कर पाते कि क्या क्या ऑप्शंस आए थे, राइट? तो इन दैट केस वी हैव टू गो विद द बेस्ट केस सिनेरियो. बट यूजुअली यहाँ पे प्राइम कॉस्ट आपको ऑप्शंस में नहीं होना चाहिए था और आपको वेरिएबल कॉस्ट के साथ यहाँ पे प्रोसीड करना चाहिए. Tell me this one. What does over absorption of overheads imply? What does over absorption of overheads imply? Option A. It leads to an understatement of product cost. It leads to an overstatement. It has no impact on the product cost. It only affects the variable component of the product, or none of the above. Or none of the above. What do you think will be the correct choice here, guys? Over absorption means you have done a overcharging. You have done a overcharging. That's why it leads to an overstatement of your product cost, right? उतना आपको चार्ज ही नहीं करने था जितना आपने चार्ज कर लिया है. That's why you have done the overcharging, and because of that there is a overstatement of the product cost in itself. Option B will be the correct choice here. Option B will be the correct choice here. Next one. What is the basis of valuation of stock in case of cost accounting? Options are in front of you. Lower of cost or NRV? NRV, cost, market value, fair value. They can give you so many other options like realizable value, net realizable value, market determined value, predetermined value. They can give you anything. and I have seen most of the students in the examination, they tick cost or NRV, whichever is lower. I'll tell you why. It's not like that they don't know the concept. They know the concept that the correct answer here will be only cost. Only cost. एंड ऐसा हो सकता है कि आप इस क्लास के अंदर आंसर दे रहे हो कॉस्ट, बट एग्जाम में आप टिक करके आओ कॉस्ट और एनआरवी व्हिचएवर इज लोअर. आई टेल यू व्हाई. एज ऑफ नाउ द सेशन इज रिलेटेड टू कॉस्टिंग, यू नो दैट. in the exam you won't be getting a clear cut bifurcation. Okay, these questions are from commerce and accountancy, these questions are from costing. You'll be getting all the questions in a mix, which creates a problem. और ऐसा हो सकता है कि जल्दी जल्दी में in a hurry you tick option A, which will be wrong. Why? Because in the case of cost accounting, maybe आपने यहां तक ही पढ़ा हो एग्जाम के अंदर, maybe you have read the complete sentence, but आपके ब्रेन में वहां पे जल्दी जल्दी में सिर्फ वैल्यूएशन ऑफ स्टॉक ही क्लिक किया हो. और मैंने ऐसा बहुत बार देखा है, लोग ए ऑप्शन टिक करके आ जाते हैं. उनकी गलती नहीं है. दिस इज मोर रिलेटेड टू एग्जाम प्रेशर मैनेजमेंट. सो क्वेश्चन को बहुत ध्यान से पढ़ना है. अभी तो आप सबको पता है कि ये कॉस्टिंग की क्लास है, सो दैट्स व्हाई यू आर डायरेक्टली गिविंग मी द आंसर सी. बट जब ये क्वेश्चन घुमा के एक बड़े से सेंटेंस के साथ एग्जाम में आएगा, देयर मे बी चांसेस कि आप में से काफी सारे लोग ऑप्शन ए टिक कर दो. तो मत करना, अच्छे से क्वेश्चन को पढ़ना, राइट. सो लेट मी जस्ट ड्रॉ क्विकली अ चार्ट एज वेल. इफ आई टॉक अबाउट द वैल्यूएशन ऑफ स्टॉक इन फाइनेंशियल अकाउंटिंग, in cost accounting, it's quite straight. We value it at cost. In financial accounting, we value it at lower of cost or NRV, net realizable value, right? This is in accordance with accounting standard 2, valuation of inventories, or Indian accounting standard 2. Can you tell me the concept or convention? Because of that, we value on the basis of cost or NRV, whichever is lower. Why we do cost or NRV, whichever is lower? As per which concept or convention we do this? This question can also come in your examination. एक ही चार्ट में 3-4 क्वेश्चंस आपके बन रहे हैं. So please do this, please draw this chart, okay? Which concept or convention I use when I am doing lower of cost or NRV? Prudence or conservatism? So यहां पे मल्टीपल क्वेश्चंस बन सकते हैं. क्वेश्चन नंबर 1, क्वेश्चन नंबर 2, क्वेश्चन नंबर 3, क्वेश्चन नंबर 4, व्हाट इज NRV, क्वेश्चन नंबर 5. 5 MCQs डायरेक्टली सिर्फ इस चार्ट से बन सकते हैं. और इनमें से काफी सारे क्वेश्चन, आई थिंक ये 5 के 5 क्वेश्चन they have already asked in different regulatory bodies. एक ही पेज से 5-5 क्वेश्चन बन सकते हैं, राइट? एक ही चैप्टर से 100, 200, 500 कितने भी क्वेश्चंस बना सकते हैं कि लाइन पकड़ के क्वेश्चन बन जाता है. दैट्स व्हाई वी नीड टू हैव क्रिस्टल क्लियर कॉन्सेप्ट्स, राइट? एंड प्लीज गिव सम टाइम. जब भी आप आंसर कर रहे हो, थोड़ा सा टाइम लेके आंसर करो, कोई जल्दी नहीं है. द होल आइडिया इज accuracy, right? Time management, definitely it plays a huge role, but accuracy at the same time is required, right? That's also required. Next one, in most of the industries, the most important element of cost is what? Now this is an open-ended question. In most of the inventory, in most of the industries, the most important element of cost is what? This is an open-ended question. इसके बहुत सारे आंसर्स हो सकते हैं, but you have to go with the best judgment. You have to go with the best judgment. You have to go with the best judgment. अगर ये फोन बना रहा हूं, let's suppose I'm a phone manufacturer. I'm a phone manufacturer. So सबसे पहला मेरा क्या लगने वाला है? सबसे ज्यादा और सबसे पहला क्या लगने वाला है? If I am a pen manufacturer, what is the first thing, what is the most important element? देखो एक चीज बताता हूं, एलिमेंट बोल दिया, दे हैव क्लियरली रिटन एलिमेंट हियर, दो ऑप्शन तो वैसे ही खत्म हो गए, डी और ई. We call this as a elimination approach. We call this as a elimination approach because they have clearly given me a hint. Element, अरे ये तो functions है. Factory cost, factory overheads, administration cost. These are the functional classification of cost. These are not my elements. What is my element? Material, labor, ये सारे मेरे elements होते हैं. Right? पेन बना रहा हूं तो सबसे पहले प्लास्टिक चाहिए. फोन बना रहा हूं तो सबसे पहले इसका फोन का मटेरियल चाहिए. सो मटेरियल विल बी दी एप्ट चॉइस हियर. बट अगेन you can have contradictory answers here and it is totally fine, but in case of contradictory questions, what thing we need to keep in mind, we need to go with the best judgment. We need to go with the best judgment. अब आपके हिसाब से कुछ और भी आंसर सही हो सकता है, बट वहां पे जो आंसर की में आंसर टिक होगा वो मटेरियल ही होगा, राइट? वो मटेरियल ही होने वाला है. ऑप्शन ए इज द करेक्ट चॉइस. ऑप्शन ए इज द करेक्ट चॉइस. नेक्स्ट वन, a very simple question. We have done it. A similar question like this we have done it in the paid class as well, right? When we were discussing about the concepts. From the data in the following table, calculate the variable cost per unit. Units दे दिए, total cost दे दी. अब देखो अब्दुल क्या बता रहे हैं, इफ इट स्पेसिफाइज आईटी इंडस्ट्री तो वहां लेबर हो सकता है. दिस इज अ वेरी गुड ऑब्जर्वेशन. अब देखो ये सिचुएशनल खेलना पड़ता है. अब अगर मैं बात करूं टीसीएस की, तो वहां पे क्या कोई मटेरियल कॉस्ट होगी? क्या नहीं होगी? बिकॉज टीसीएस इज नॉट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग एनीथिंग. टीसीएस इज अ सर्विस इंडस्ट्री, इट्स आईटी इंडस्ट्री, राइट? सो इन सर्विसेज कॉस्ट, इन द सर्विस सेक्टर कॉस्ट, द कॉस्ट इज ऑल अबाउट labor cost, employee cost. Say for example, if I talk about Oliveboard or any other edtech company, we are operating in a service industry. So the salary that we are paying to the employees, right, the faculty members or the rest of the employees will be the highest, right? So that's why I can say that it depends on the industry also. तो यहाँ पे आपको डिप्लोमेटिक होके खेलना पड़ता है. ऐसा नहीं कि आपको स्ट्रेट मटेरियल, नहीं भाई, answer can change depending on the industry. So very good, Abdul, that's a great observation. So guys, here we are having a table. Units दे रखी है, total cost दे रखी है. We need to calculate the variable cost per unit. Take your time, calculate the answer. Take your time, no hurry. Acha, can you guys also calculate the fixed cost here? Can you guys also calculate the fixed cost here? I can see variable cost. All of you have computed that perfectly. What about fixed cost element? Can you also calculate the fixed cost here? What about the fixed cost? Perfect. The variable cost per unit is 150. Why? Because the total cost is changing. And why the total cost changes? Because of the change in the variable cost, right? Why? Because the fixed cost will always be the fixed. So 2750 on 15 units minus 2450 on 13 units. I can say there is a change in the units, and that's why there is a change in the cost. It's completely driven due to the variable cost. So 150 per unit is the correct choice. This is my variable cost. Option B is the correct one. And if I talk about the fixed cost, right, then 500 is the correct choice. 500 is the correct choice. This is my total cost, 2450 on 13 units. So how much is the variable cost? 150 per unit multiplied by 13. The rest will be my fixed cost. The rest will be my fixed cost, right? So 150 multiplied by 13 is 1950. Rest is my fixed cost, which comes to 500 rupees. So here option A is the correct choice. Here option A is the correct choice. Perfect. I can see all of you are able to calculate the correct choice. Right? Perfect. So we have seen that fixed cost will remain the fixed only irrespective of the level of activity. Whether I produce 0 units or 400 units, it will remain fixed, and variable cost will go up as I produce more and more units, right? As I produce more and more units, and total cost will always starts from the fixed cost irrespective of the fact that you are producing 0 units. Why? Because even if you produce 0 units, you have to at least incur fixed cost. That's why total cost के अंदर आपका वेरिएबल कॉस्ट वाला कंपोनेंट जीरो भी हो गया, still there will be some fixed cost component. That's why total cost can never be zero, right? Because you have variable cost, you have fixed cost as well to cover. Next one, which of the following is considered to be normal loss of material? Loss due to accidents, pilferage, loss due to breaking the bulk, loss due to carelessness, or handling of material. None of the above. What do you think? Now again, you have to select the best case scenario here. You need to select the best case scenario here. Acha, what if I eliminate this option? None of the above. Now try to select. Now try to select. Now try to select. The apt option here will be option C, loss due to breaking the bulk. Let's suppose if I talk about ice, I have a block of ice. I have a block of ice. I want to convert it into cubes. I want to convert it into cubes. So I need to break it down. I need to break it down. Definitely there will be some kind of normal loss. Definitely there will be some kind of normal loss. Option C here is the correct choice. Option C here is the correct choice. Rest of the things are usually considered in the normal loss itself. Right? Rest of the things are usually considered in the normal loss itself. Now I have not given this answer. Even in the ICI material, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, they have given this answer. This is a contradictory question for sure. It can come in your exam also. It can come in your exam also, right? Next one. In behavioral analysis, the costs are divided into what category? What types of category? In behavioral analysis, we are more of judging the cost by its behavior. By its behavior. And do remember, behavior keeps on changing. That's a hint that I have given you. Behavior keeps on changing. On the basis of behavior, behavior keeps on changing. Any other opinion? What if I eliminate this option? This is the wrong answer. Controllable and non-controllable is based on the classification of controllability and not on the basis of behavior. Okay, I have eliminated this option. Let me just eliminate none of the above also. Now tell me, I am giving you a hint. I'm giving you a big hint on the basis of behavior, and behavior keeps on changing. The correct choice here is fixed and variable cost, one of the most simple question and the first thing that we study in the basics of cost class. This is the first thing that we study in basics of cost class. Okay. Let me show you the chart as well where we do study this thing. Maybe after seeing that chart you can, you know, able to recall. This is the chart. On the basis of variability or behavior, we have fixed, variable, semi-variable. Controllable, non-controllable is based on the controllability. Is based on the controllability, right? So that's why the correct answer here is fixed, variable, semi-variable, and this is an examination question. This question came in your examination. Okay. Next one. When material price fluctuate widely, there is a high amount of fluctuation, right? There is a high amount of fluctuation like this. The method of pricing that gives absurd result, unclear result, unclear result. Which is the one? Any idea? Which is the one? It's about averages. It's about averages. It's about averages. So let me just simplify it for you. I am eliminating all these options. Both B and A and B can't be the answer. Simple average and weighted average are completely different. Simple average and weighted average are completely different. So both A and B can never be the answer. Okay. Vishali and Kushwant. E's option is completely eliminated. Why? Simple average से बहुत अलग result आएगा. Weighted average से बहुत अलग result आएगा. They are not even comparable. Simple average will give you absurd result, will give you unclear result. Why? Simple average is not considering the weights. And when I consider the weights, what if there are lower fluctuations? I bought 10 units. What if there are higher fluctuations? I book 100 units. I have taken 100 units. So this will be factored in because of the weighted average, and simple average will be giving you the absurd result. That's why option A is the correct one here. Option A is the correct one here. Which of the following items is not included in preparation of cost sheet? In preparation of cost sheet, which of the following item is not included? Interest paid is not included in preparation of the cost sheet, right? Interest paid is a financial accounting item. It is not a cost accounting item. It's not included in the cost sheet, right? So guys, that's all from my end for today. In the next class, we'll be discussing more and more MCQs. So thank you so much for showing your participation. And I encourage you to answer more and more questions in the live classes, because that's how we'll be able to make it. The more you interact, the better your learning experience will be. Okay. Process costing method is suitable for which type of sector or industry? Now these kind of questions are again and again coming in your examination, where you need to identify the method of costing which is suitable in a particular industry. Option A, transport. Option B, chemical. Option C, dam construction. Option D, furniture making. Option E, all of the above. It's very simple, right? It's quite simple. And these kind of questions are one of the most repetitive in nature. Identification of the methods of costing. Perfect. Chemical industry is best suited for process costing, right? It is best suited for process costing. And can you guys also tell me what about transport sector? What about transport sector? Any idea? Let's discuss one by one. What about the transport sector first? Which is the best method of costing for transport sector? Operating costing, or we can say service costing. Very good, Rutanjay. Operating costing or service costing, one of the same thing. What about dam construction? That's also easy. What about dam construction? For dam construction, contract costing. Perfect. What about furniture making? What about furniture making? Let's suppose I'm making furnitures on the basis of orders. On the basis of orders, I'm making furnitures. Here, job costing will be an apt approach because on the basis of orders, I'm making furnitures, right? Like Rutanjay placed an order, I made the furniture. Vishali placed an order, I made the furniture. Nidhi placed the order, I made the furniture. Perfect, right? So guys, we need to very well understand about different industries and what costing methodology can be used in different sector. Now, we have already done the concept related to cost object. Let's redo this in a different kind of MCQ manner. What is the cost object in cost accounting? What do you mean by cost object in cost accounting? Now, in the last class also, we have covered a question like this. What's cost object in cost accounting? Why I'm focusing too many questions related to the basics of costing? Why? Because basics of costing, lean system, marginal costing, job costing, these are some of the topics. Unit costing, these are some of the topics that have a highest weightage in the examination if we see the trend. But definitely we'll be maintaining the balance in the coming sessions. We'll be also doing MCQs around different topics. The correct choice here will be the anything for which a separate measurement of cost is desired, right? We have covered the same concept in the previous class also in a different MCQ. Option B here is the correct choice. Tell me this one. One of the element of cost sheet is primary cost. Can you tell me how to calculate primary cost? The prime cost, which we also call it as prime cost or primary cost, one of the same thing only, right? A very simple one. A very simple one. You need to calculate the prime cost. So options are in front of you guys. Yes, direct material, direct labor, and all the other direct expenses except material and labor. So option B becomes the apt choice here. That's what prime cost is all about. We have to account for all the direct material, all the direct labor, and all the other direct expenses. That's what prime cost is all about, right? That's what prime cost is all about. Option B is the correct choice. Next one, which of the following is included in the cost sheet? Is included. What we have to consider in cost sheet? Option A, interest paid. Option B, cash discount. Option C, dividend paid. Option D, income tax paid. Or option E, none of the above. Why none of the above? Because all these items are items of financial accounting and not cost accounting, right? All these elements are of financial accounting and not cost accounting. So interest paid, cash discount, dividend paid, income tax paid, all these things are matter of financial accounting and not cost accounting. And we have seen the entire list multiple times related to this stuff, right? Next one. The following data are available in respect of material X for the year ended 31st March 2023. Right? We have opening stock, we have purchases, we have closing stock. Here we need to calculate the inventory turnover ratio and let's first calculate the inventory turnover ratio, right? सबसे पहले क्या करते हैं, inventory turnover ratio निकालते हैं. Can you guys tell me the formula of inventory turnover ratio? Now sir, this is to a part of ratio analysis. Why you are asking this in here costing chapter? Why you are asking this in the costing chapter? So we are considering this in the costing chapter. Why? Because it relates to inventory, right? Very good, Vaishali. Cost of goods sold divided by average inventory is the formula. इसका formula क्या है? Cost of goods sold divided by average inventory, right? Perfect. So CAGS divided by average inventory, that's my formula. So over to you guys. Let me know what should be the inventory turnover ratio. Inventory is an item of cost as well. That's why I'm taking some of the questions related to inventory turnover ratio in this also. Cost of goods sold divided by average inventory. Can you guys quickly calculate this one? What should be my inventory turnover ratio? What do you mean by cost of goods sold? Opening stock plus purchases minus closing stock. Opening stock plus purchases minus closing stock, right? So what is my opening stock? 90,000 plus purchases 2,70,000 minus my closing stock 1,10,000. It's quite straight. This will be my cost of the goods sold. This will be my cost of the goods sold. And what about average inventory? It's nothing but opening stock plus closing stock divided by 2. So 90,000 plus 1,10,000 divided by 2. That's my average inventory. That's my average inventory, right? So 90,000 plus 2,70,000 minus 1,110. This gives me 2,50,000, right? This gives me 2,50,000 divided by average inventory, which is nothing but 1 lakh, which is nothing but 1 lakh. So it's quite straight that 2.5 times will be my inventory turnover ratio. And no worries if you are yet to complete the ratio analysis or you are yet to watch the class of ratio analysis, no worries at all. Only those will be able to solve this question who are done with commerce and accountancy. Why? Because inventory turnover ratio, usually I teach it in commerce and accountancy itself, though it is a part of costing as well. The concept is completely same. And the number of days for which the inventory is held, average inventory is held, what about that? So for that we do 365 day divided by 2.5, which is inventory turnover ratio. So 146 days will be the correct choice here, right? No worries at all. For those who are not able to understand this one, no problem at all. You must be kind of on your way to complete the commerce and accountancy, and definitely in your ratio analysis I'll be covering it in a very detailed manner. Okay, next question. From the below information, you need to find out the factory cost. Prime cost is given, depreciation is given, factory rent is given, which is 200% of the depreciation. Now this question came in PFRDA exam phase 2. This question came in PFRDA exam phase 2. Same question came in PFRDA examination phase 2, but the numbers were different. It can come in your SEBI Grade A examination also. You need to apply a logic to solve this question. You have to calculate the factory cost. We are having primary cost of 33,500, depreciation of 1,500. Factory rent, which is 200% of depreciation. Now there will be different answers. I can say Rohan 38,000, Vishali B, Sumesh B, okay, 36,500. What about others? Quickly guys in the comment section. 38,000. Rutanjay, Rohan 38,000. Others as of now, Vishali, Sumesh 36,500. What about others? Now I can say that this is a logical question on which we have to also assume certain things. Exact question came in your PFRD examination. It can be there in your SEBI Grade A examination also. It can be there in your SEBI Grade A examination also. Look, how to calculate the correct choice here? I have prime cost, which is 33,500. 33,500, right? We have depreciation also, which is usually, depreciation is usually administrative cost, right? It's more of a administrative cost in nature, depreciation. But here you can see that they have linked factory rent with depreciation. So very high chances that this depreciation is applicable on a fixed asset which is used in factory, right? Which is used in factory, So here can I say that depreciation will also be part of my factory cost? Why? Because it is directly related to my, I am relating my factory rent and depreciation together here, right? So factory rent, definitely it's a part of my production overheads or factory overheads or work overheads. 200% of depreciation, so 1500 ka 200%, that's 3000, and depreciation also I'll be adding in this question. Why? Because they have related factory rent as compared to depreciation. That means high chances that this machinery must be there in my factory building itself, which is used in the process of production, right? So here 38,000 will be the correct choice. I need to add all the things. Now most of the students missed this particular concept in the PFRDA examination. I have done this in the paid classes of PFRDA. I've done this free of cost on the YouTube also, and we have practiced this in SEBI classes also. Yes, similar kind of question we have covered in the paid classes also, and this can be important for your examination also, right? Sir, if factory rent is not related with depreciation, then should we assume depreciation is not fixed cost? Now that's a good question, Rutanjay, and definitely they will be giving you some hint. If they don't give you some hint, it will be an unclear question, right? It will be a completely unclear question if they don't give you a hint like this, right? So if they will be giving you a hint, somewhere or the other they will be writing that depreciation is a kind of administrative overheads, somewhere or the other, right? So definitely you need to follow the hint. If they don't give you the hint, it will become a very unclear question that I don't think that they will be giving in the examination. Just like that, in the PFRD also this question came, and multiple students treated depreciation as a part of administrative cost. This is a big hint that they are giving you factory rent, which is related to depreciation, right? So that's why we need to assume it. Sir, I have just joined the course. Is PPT enough or the notes provided also needed? Look, everything in consolidation will work. Notes, again, they are not sufficient. PPTs are not sufficient. Lectures are not sufficient. But when you combine all the things, Rohan, it will be definitely more than sufficient. For sure, it will be more than sufficient. Okay. And it doesn't matter whether you are from a commerce background or a non-commerce background. If you combine notes, PPTs, and the lectures, definitely everything will be covered in your course. Okay, Rohan? So you need to read notes, PPTs, and watch the lectures also for the best understanding. Perfect. And good to have you in the batch, Rohan. Welcome to the course. Same mistake, yes. Sumesh, that's the problem, because the examination environment is quite different with the class environment, and that's totally fine. So many students made the mistake, but it is totally fine. Why? Because that I can understand in the examination. Abhi, for example, we are doing multiple MCQs for preparation of the example. We are practicing mock test as well. So much of pressure is there, and that's totally fine if you miss one question. But this is one of the kind of question which comes in the regulatory examination more often. That's why you need to have a very strong grip on these kind of concepts. particularly related to unit costing, because I have seen in the past 3 years, regularly in all the examinations, they are asking numericals from the unit costing, and it's a very simple chapter, right? So next question, guys, in which of the following method of pricing the cost lags behind the current economic values? This is a logical question based on your FIFO, LIFO. In which of the following method of pricing cost lags behind the current economic values? If they're talking about cost, they're talking about cost, right? Sales minus cost. So they are talking about cost, that cost is lagging behind the current economic value. Now, in which method the cost can lag behind the current economic value? We use different methodologies in accounting in AS2, like last in first out, like first in first out. What's happening here is, try to understand what's happening here is, in first out, what I do is, whatever I have bought initially, I will sell it first. I will sell it first. Then I can say whatever is left will be my closing stock. Whatever is left from the last lot will be my closing stock, right? So I'll be computing the cost of goods sold from these two elements, right? I'll be computing my cost of goods sold from this two element. First and second, the initial lots from which I have done the buying. The initial lots from which I have done the buying. The cost will definitely lag. Why? Because the latest lot, this was the latest lot, lot number 3. This was my latest lot, which is in accordance with the current economic value, but the earlier lots that I have bought are lagging behind the cost, and that's why the correct answer here will be first in first out. In this kind of arrangement, the cost is sometimes lagging behind the current economic value. Now, when we talk about cost, here they are talking about cost of goods sold, right? They are talking about cost of goods sold. If they are talking about something else, there is a different type of question as well. We'll be discussing that for more clarity purpose, right? For more clarity purpose, we'll be discussing a separate type of question as well, which is included in today's class. Next one, which of the following are the direct expenses? Now here you need to identify the direct expenses. The very first one, cost of design, a special design, drawing or layout. Option number 2, the hire of tools or equipment for a particular job. Sure, John, I'll definitely explain you that, but there is a similar kind of a question covered in this particular session. So I'll be explaining the whole concept in that particular question, okay? That will be more relevant. Otherwise, we'll be repeating the same thing twice in today's session. So that's why I'll cover that question with the similar kind of a question. I should have taken that question together only, but somehow I missed the sequence. Hire of tools or equipment for a particular job, salesman wages, rent rates, and insurance of factory. Direct expenses. Perfect. Option A is the correct one, guys, here. First and second. The cost of spatial design, drawing, layout, they are directly attributable expense, and the tools and equipments I am using for a particular job, I can directly attribute them. That's why they are directly attributable expenses. Now, salesman, they will be selling all the products. That's an indirect cost, and that's a part of my selling and distribution overheads, right? Particularly selling cost. Rent rates and insurance of a factory is more related to factory cost, right? It's more related to factory overhead and not a direct expense. Next one, in which of the following methods issue of materials are priced at predetermined rate? Now, this can be a complex question for those who don't understand the concept, what predetermined cost is all about. There's a hint in this question as well. For those who don't know what predetermined cost is, it will be a difficult question. And for those who know that what predetermined cost is all about, it will be a very simple question. Now setting standards is nothing but predetermining the cost in itself, right? Setting standards in itself is nothing but predetermining the cost in itself. So standard price method will be the correct choice. Standard price method will be the correct choice. Next one. Primary packing material is an example of what? Let's suppose I have a bottle of Bisleri. I have a bottle of Bisleri. Now there's a primary packing material. Without this bottle, I can't sell this Bisleri. Primary packing material. This is going to be a very primary thing for my material. That's an example of what? Now, usually we consider it as a cost of production, right? Perfect. Usually we consider it as a cost of production. Primary packing material is nothing but cost of production only. And specifically, it is falling in the direct material cost. Specifically, the primary packaging falls in the direct material cost in itself. Right? Next one. What are the different elements of a cost sheet? Right, Rohan. That's why we say that it's a part of cost of production, but I don't have the option as of now. Right? But without this primary packaging material, I can't go ahead. So in the ICI material also, they have given the answer as direct material, which is related to cost of production only, but the broad answer will always be cost of production. What are the different elements of cost sheet? Prime cost, cost of goods sold, profit, both A and B, or all of the above? Yes, that's easy, right? Now, some students can have a confusion. So this is a cost sheet. This is a cost sheet. So why profit element is there? Or a profit element is also there in the cost sheet, right? So all of the above is the correct choice here. All of the above is the correct choice here, right? All the elements are there in the cost sheet. Next one. What is a cost driver? In the context of cost accounting, what do you mean by a cost driver? Basically, cost driver is nothing, the things that are driving the cost, that are driving the cost. Factors or variables that directly influences the level of cost, right? These are the factors, these are the variables that directly influences the level of cost. So the factors or variable that significantly affects the cost of an activity or operation, the cost drivers are directly responsible for incurrence of the cost, for example, including number of machine setups. For example, product A requires 10 setups, whereas product B requires 100 setups. So I can say that it directly impacts the cost levels. So they are directly driving the cost. They are directly driving the cost. That's why we say them cost drivers. That's why we say them cost drivers. Right? Next one. What document is prepared when surplus material from one job is directly utilized in another job without being returned to stores first? Without being returned to stores first. Material requisition note, material return note, transfer note, SWIFT note, inventory adjustment note. Look what happens. We have a stores. Whenever we buy a material, we always store in the stores. We always store in the stores ledger, right? Now there's job number 1. There is job number 2 also. What I'm doing here is when I am transferring the surplus material from one job, I'm transferring a surplus material directly from one job to job number 2 without being returning to the stores. If I return to the stores, I'll be preparing a return requisition, right? Material return note. But I'm not doing as of now, I'm just transferring it from one job to another. Now we can't just transfer anything freely without preparing a documentation, right? We need to always do a documentation. Whenever there is a movement of material, there will be some documentation, and here it will be material transfer note. Here it will be material transfer note. That's a document. We prepare it while transferring it from one job to another, right? Material transfer note will be the correct choice. Acha, this is the question. We'll be discussing this question in a detailed manner. When prices fluctuate wildly, the method that will smooth out the effect of fluctuation will be what? Simple average, weighted average, FIFO, LIFO, all of the above. When the prices are fluctuating, a similar kind of question we did in the first class of costing, in the first MCQ class of costing. When the prices are fluctuating widely, the method that will smooth out. So this is more related to quant rather than costing. This is more related to quant rather than costing. When we use weighted average, we consider weights and all the fluctuations are smoothly tackled. That's why there are smoothness in the data. There is a smoothness in the data when we calculate it through the weighted average instead of a simple average, right? A similar kind of question we have done in class number 1 also, and here we can see if you want to bring more and more smoothness in your data, in your output, then you need to use weighted average. Why? Because it is actually considering the weights. Next one is related to unit costing, a very straight question, a very simple one. Prime cost, they have given you 50,000, variable production overhead 20,000, fixed production overhead 10,000, direct labor, which is 70% of your prime cost. What you need to calculate here is direct material, the amount of direct material. That's what you need to calculate. So what do you guys? A very simple question, a very straight one. Now, why it's a very straight question, you need to know a very simple thing, that the prime cost comprises of direct material, direct labor, and direct expenses, other direct expenses. I don't think there is any direct expense in this question. These are overheads which are indirect cost in nature, right? These are indirect cost in nature. So I only have direct labor, which is 30% of prime cost, right? So I only have labor cost, which is 70% of my prime cost. And what will be my direct material? The remaining 30% of my prime cost will be direct material. So 50,000 ka 30% directly will be the answer, 15,000, right? 15,000 will be the correct answer here. Next one, the application of the principles of accounting and financial management to create, protect, preserve, and increase the value for stakeholders is known as what? Now, this is a definition of CIMA. This is the official definition of CIMA related to which accounting? Cost, management, financial accounting, value accounting, auditor accounting. This is the official definition of CIMA Institute, which is related to management accounting, So the application of principles of accounting and financial management, here we are combining accounting as well as FM. Why? Because you want to make the data more valuable for the managers here. That's why we are incorporating the concept of FM as well, which is an official definition of CIMA. Now, they have asked this question in the examination in a regulatory body. I think in PFRD only, in the PYQ, they have asked this particular question. Okay. Again, a question related to inventory turnover ratio. Accounting includes cost accounting here. Look, accounting, when we talk about accounting, there are three branches usually: cost accounting, management accounting, and financial accounting, right? So here in your syllabus, we need to be very, very specific, right? What is value accounting? Then here we account for the true value, which is not required as of now, right? Why? Because it's not there in your course. The difference between cost accounting, management accounting, and financial accounting is important in your course. So what you need to identify, what you need to have a, I will say, understanding about is very deep knowledge about cost accounting, management accounting, and financial accounting. They can twist the question, and most of the students will be answering financial accounting in this particular question. Why? Because they have seen the word stakeholder, but this is the official definition of CIMA. So sometimes the prominent institutes ka definition also we have to understand. Yes. And guys, audit and accounting, we all understand auditing is nothing but checking of the transaction. And basically in value accounting, which is not there in your course, it's nothing but it's an approach of accounting where you are actually measuring, recording, and reporting the value created by the business, right? In simple terms, I can say is the business actually creating a value for the owners or stakeholders. So it's more about value creation rather than just telling about the profitability, right? Next one again is related to your inventory turnover ratio. Again, a very simple question. Cost of goods sold divided by average inventory. If you have done the ratio analysis chapter in commerce and accountancy, then you will be able to easily solve it. For those who are yet to do it, no worries at all. We will be doing it in a very detailed manner. For those who haven't completed the ratio analysis, they can just ignore as of now. So cost of goods sold, sales minus my GP ratio. There are two methods of computing cost of goods sold: opening stock plus purchases minus my closing stock. Acha, we need to also incorporate direct expenses also. Opening stock plus purchase plus direct expenses minus my closing stock, or I can say sales minus my GP ratio. Sales minus my GP ratio, right? In this particular question, the GP ratio wala concept will work. So sales is 3,60,000, GP ratio is 50%. This will give me my cost of goods sold 1,80,000, right? So 1,80,000, and they have directly given you the average inventory in the question 90,000, which comes to 2 times. So Nidhi, I think your commerce and accountancy is pending, right? GP ratio is nothing but gross profit ratio. Okay, gross profit ratio. So if your commerce and accountancy is pending, particularly the ratio analysis chapter, no worries at all about the GP ratio. I'll be telling you in a detailed manner in that class. Okay. For those students जिनका commerce and accountancy pending है, वो इसको ignore करो. वो इस वाले question को अभी ignore करो. ठीक है, इससे बड़े बड़े लेवल के क्वेश्चंस हम वहां पे सॉल्व कर लेंगे. सो नो वरीज, आप ये वाले क्वेश्चंस आराम से यू विल बी एबल टू सॉल्व इट. जीपी रेशियो मींस ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट रेशियो. ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट इज नथिंग बट सेल्स माइनस माय कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड सोल्ड. Sales minus my cost of goods sold is gross profit. Let's suppose my sales is 1 lakh rupee and the cost of the goods sold is maybe 80,000 rupees. So I can say 20,000 is nothing but my GP, gross profit. And gross profit ratio means gross profit as compared to the sales. So 20,000 gross profit divided by sales of 1 lakh rupee into 100. This will be my gross profit ratio or gross profit margin, which is nothing but 20%. Which is nothing but 20% here. Right? Acha, next question. Given the following data extracted from the records of B Limited, you need to calculate the fixed cost. They have given you the machine hour range. They have given you the minimum and maximum machine hour rate. They have given you the manufacturing overheads, minimum and maximum amount of manufacturing overheads. What you need to calculate here is the amount of fixed cost. The amount of fixed cost. So what do you guys? How I can calculate my fixed cost if they have given me the changes in the level of activity? A very simple question. We have done it multiple times. For calculating the fixed cost, first go ahead and calculate the variable cost per unit, and then you can calculate the fixed cost. Take your time. Take your time, guys, and answer this question. This is also one of the most repeated question in different examinations related to costing. Let me just draw a table for you. The following data has been extracted. You need to calculate the fixed cost. The machine hours is given, right? Machine hours. How many machine hours are given? Maximum 8 lakh. Maximum 8 lakh machine hours. Minimum 3 lakh. Manufacturing overheads. 52 lakhs maximum. 32 lakhs minimum. 32 lakhs minimum. Take your time and calculate this one, guys. Now, guys, some students might be thinking that the difference between the manufacturing overhead will be the fixed cost, which is also 20 lakh rupees here, which is a coincidence. Right? It's not the difference between 32 lakhs and 52 lakhs. That's not the correct approach. The correct approach will be change in the machine hours and change in the manufacturing overhead. So how much is the change in the manufacturing overheads? 52 lakh overheads I need to incur at 8 lakh machine hours, 32 lakh manufacturing overheads I have to incur at 3 lakh machine hours. So 20 lakhs divided by 5 lakhs, right? 20 lakhs divided by 5 lakhs. What will be the variable cost? 20 lakhs divided by 5 lakhs. This will be 4. This will be 4. This is variable cost per unit. Please do remember this is variable cost per unit. In the examination, they can ask you anything. They may ask you variable cost per unit. They may ask you total variable cost. They may also ask you fixed cost. In this time, in this particular question, they have asked fixed cost. How to calculate fixed cost? Now I know that this is my variable cost. What is my variable cost? 4 per unit. 4 per unit is my variable cost when I produce 3 lakh machine hours. My total manufacturing cost is 32 lakhs, right? My total manufacturing cost is 32 lakhs. Out of which some part will be variable and some will be fixed. That's how I calculate my total cost. What part of it is variable? 3 lakh hours multiplied by 4 per hour, right? 4 per hour. So this gives me 12 lakhs. 12 lakhs. 12 lakhs minus 32 lakhs, which gives me 20 lakhs. Balancing figure, fixed cost. You can also cross confirm it from the 8 lakh machine hours, from the 52 lakh total cost, right? You can easily cross confirm from it. In the examination, you don't have to cross confirm it. Now, for those who think that the difference between manufacturing overhead directly will be 20 lakh, this is the incorrect approach, right? This is not the correct approach. This is just the coincidence, right? Always first you have to calculate the variable cost per unit. Without that, you can't compute the fixed cost. Without that, you can't compute the fixed cost. So it's quintessential to first calculate the variable cost per unit. That's what we do in always in the computation of the semi-variable cost, right? So I've given you the methodology here also. Later on, you can check out. It's the same methodology. In case of rising prices, in case of increasing prices, FIFO method will provide the lowest cost of closing stock and profit, provides the highest cost of closing stock and profit, provides the lowest cost of lowest value of closing stock and the lowest value of profit, provides the highest value of profit but lowest value of closing stock, or none of the above, or none of the above. What should be the correct choice here? This is first in, first out. So what is happening in first in, first out? Let's suppose I'm buying 2 lots, right? 100 units I bought at 10 rupees. And because there is high inflation in the market, there is a high inflation in the market, I again bought 100 units in the second lot. But this time I bought it for 15 rupees because of high inflation in the market. Because of high inflation in the market. Just tell me from which lot you will be having your closing stock as per FIFO. Lot number 1 or lot number 2? Lot number 1 or lot number 2? Yes, we'll be having closing stock from the lot number 2. Why? Because first in, first out. First in, first out. Let's suppose I sold 150 units. So first I will consume this, and then I will consume 50 units out of second lot. So the final closing stock that I have in my business will be from the second lot. Right? Let's suppose I sold 150 units. So this is first in, first out. Let's consume this first. So 100 units I have consumed from this. What about the rest of the 50 units? Rest of the 50 units I'll consume from the second lot, which is at the rate 15, because this is first in, first out. right? We'll be discussing this concept in Accounting Standard 2. For those who have not watched Accounting Standard 2 lecture as of now, they can watch it. And definitely you guys will be able to understand the details of this particular concept. Now the 50 units I have from the second lot, which is valued at 15 rupees, which is quite expensive as compared to the first lot. So I can say that the closing stock value will be high. The closing stock value will be high. It won't be low. So let me just eliminate quickly. Let me just eliminate the options. Closing stock valuation will be high. Closing stock valuation will be high. अच्छा, इतना करने पे ही आंसर आ गया. इतना करने पे ही आंसर आ गया. Right? I hope you are able to understand it. The correct choice will be option B. सिर्फ क्लोजिंग स्टॉक का एनालिसिस करने पे ही आंसर आ गया. अभी तो हमने प्रॉफिट का एनालिसिस किया भी नहीं है. Let's talk about the profitability also. So when your closing stock is high, what will happen to your profitability? Can anyone tell me? It will be high or low? What will happen to your profitability here? If your closing stock is high, your profit will also be high. Why? Because closing stock and profit, they both go hand in hand. Right? Closing stock and profit, they both go hand in hand. Why they both go hand in hand? This is my trading P&L account, for example. In the debit side, I have 2 opening stock, 2 purchase, 2 direct expenses, right? That's my debit side. In the credit side, I have buy sales, I have buy closing stock. क्रेडिट साइड का टोटल जितना हैवी होता जाएगा उतना मेरा प्रॉफिट बढ़ता जाएगा, राइट? सो इट्स द सेल्स दैट आई कैन इंक्रीज, or to manipulate my profit I can even pump my closing stock, which is a regular practice in the industry side, which everyone is following. They pump their closing stock, that increases the profitability. Let me just give you a quick example. My closing stock, say for example, is 1 lakh here. My closing stock, say for example, is 1 lakh rupees here. Okay. Sales, for example, is also 1 lakh rupees. My opening stock is 10,000 rupees. My purchases are 90,000 rupees, for example. What will happen to my GP? It will be 0 as of now. Right? Sorry. 2 lakh is the total of credit side. What is the total of my debit side? I'll just copy paste this total here. And less opening stock minus purchases. So my gross profit will be 1 lakh here, which is balancing figure. Right? Now my sales is constant. My opening stock is constant. My purchase is constant. Just try to increase your closing stock. Let's pump it up to 1,20,000 instead of 1 lakh. This will become 2,20,000. This will become 2,20,000. This total will also become 2,20,000. Your opening stock and purchases are 1 lakh only. So now your gross profit becomes 1,20,000. So can I say that increase in your closing stock by 20,000 results in increase of your gross profit by also 20,000. So your GP is directly proportional with the closing stock valuation, right? And that's why in the industry side, many companies manipulate the valuation of closing stock just to manipulate the profit element. So I can say when inflation is going up, in the FIFO method, you are always selling the lots that you bought earlier. That means the first lot. What about the second lot? Your second lot from which your closing stock will be there will be at a higher valuation. Why? Because inflation is there in the market. And because of that, your closing stock valuation increases. So definitely your profit valuation will also increase, will also go up. That's why option B is correct. Okay. Next one. Under the FSN system of inventory control, inventory is classified on the basis of what? Now this is a googly question. This is a googly question. In the examination also, one question definitely you will be getting that will be not directly mapped with your syllabus, and you guys won't be able to solve it in the examination. That's quite possible. In all the regulatory bodies, no doubt, you study all the notes, you study all the PDFs, you watch all the YouTube videos of all the channels, still one or two question in the examination will be there, and that's completely sorted. It's there to break your confidence most of the times, right? It's there to break your confidence most of the times. Now this particular question I have picked from ICI material, and FSN is all about your fast moving, slow moving, and non moving inventory. Because here we talk about the movement, because we talk about the inventory movement. The basis of it is frequency of usage. How quickly I am using my material. What is the frequency of my usage, right? How many times I am using my inventory. And that's what the correct answer here will be. Frequency of usage of items of inventory, right? Frequency of usage of items of inventory. That's what FSN system is all about, right? Now it is deep within the, I will say, syllabus, and I can even not map it with your syllabus. Now, one question definitely you can have in your examination. No doubt we try to cover multiple concepts from different materials. We also try to follow all the materials for your examination perspective. बट डेफिनेटली एक क्वेश्चन एग्जाम के अंदर ऐसा आ सकता है जो आप लोगों से सॉल्व नहीं होगा, एंड दैट्स टोटली फाइन. दैट्स टोटली फाइन. वी हैव टू कॉन्सेंट्रेट ऑन द रेस्ट ऑफ द 49 क्वेश्चंस, राइट, जो आपके फेज 1 के अंदर आने वाले हैं, 99 क्वेश्चंस जो आपके फेज 2 के अंदर आने वाले हैं, जो आप इजीली सॉल्व कर पाओगे, भले ही डिफिकल्ट लेवल के भी हो. बट इफ यू हैव डन द कॉन्सेप्ट्स वेरी वेल, इफ यू हैव डन ऑल द न्यूमेरिकल्स वेरी वेल, वहां पे आपको प्ले करने का ट्राई करना है कि मैं 99% में से ज्यादा स्कोर कर पाऊं, rather than just chasing that 1% वाला क्वेश्चन. आई हैव सीन मल्टीपल स्टूडेंट्स वो 1% वाले क्वेश्चंस को चेस करते हैं, और उस वजह से क्या होता है, उस वजह से ये होता है कि भाई जिसने अच्छे से पढ़ रखा है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ आई हैव डन जस्ट PFRD एग्जाम, मैंने जस्ट PFRD एग्जाम दिया है, मैं इंटरव्यू में रह गया, फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैं एक ऐसा कैंडिडेट हूं जो इंटरव्यू में रह गया पर मेरा स्कोर काफी बढ़िया था PFRD के अंदर, राइट. अभी मुझे बेसिक्स पे दिमाग लगाने की बहुत ज्यादा जरूरत नहीं है, सो मैं उस 1% को चेस करने के लिए रेडी हूं. बट इफ यू हैव नॉट कंप्लीटेड योर 99% एंड स्टिल चेसिंग दैट 1%, इट विल बी क्वाइट डिफिकल्ट, राइट. क्योंकि एग्जाम में कभी कभी आता है, कभी कभी वो 1% नहीं भी आता है. लास्ट टाइम का सेबी का पेपर देखोगे तो बिल्कुल डायरेक्ट था, राइट. फेज 1 फेज 2 देखोगे एकदम सा नॉर्मल सा पेपर था, न्यूमेरिकल्स भी कम आ गए थे, बिल्कुल स्ट्रेट क्वेश्चंस बहुत ज्यादा आ गए थे. इफ यू सॉल्व द PYQ पेपर ऑफ सेबी जनरल ऑफ लास्ट ईयर, काफी डायरेक्ट पेपर आ गया था. एक आध क्वेश्चन फिर भी कुछ ऐसा आ सकता है, राइट. एंड यूजुअली वी ट्राई टू फैक्टर इन, ऑल द फैकल्टीज ट्राई टू फैक्टर इन मल्टीपल क्वेश्चंस कि आपका वो 1% वाला क्वेश्चन भी कवर हो पाए. Now there is a ABC analysis also. Now what is ABC analysis all about? It's nothing but categorization technique. It's nothing but a categorization technique. Let's categorize my stock on the basis of A grade, B grade, C grade. A category, B category, C category. Now what is this A category, B category, C category? Quantity less than 10%. For example, I have 100 units. I have 100 units. A category is such a material, is such a stock which is just, I'm just having 10% or less than 10%, but still it is contributing in terms of value more than 70%. That's the A category. बिल्कुल नीश में आ गया कि अच्छा क्वांटिटी तो बहुत कम रखनी पड़ती है, आई हैव टू कीप अ वेरी लेस क्वांटिटी ऑफ कैटेगरी है, बट वैल्यू टर्म्स के अंदर इट इज मोर देन कंट्रीब्यूटिंग 70% ऑफ द वैल्यू. In B category, we have 20-20. In C category, we have 70-10. That's what ABC analysis is all about. We are just categorizing the inventories based on quantity and value analysis. For example, अगर मैं आपके यहाँ पे ABC analysis try करूँ आपके syllabus के अंदर, ठीक है, तो basics of costing और lean system को अगर मैं मिला दूं, तो ये कुछ ऐसे टॉपिक्स हैं जिनकी क्वांटिटी बहुत कम है, 10-15-20% मुश्किल से इनकी क्वांटिटी आप इनको इजीली कवर कर सकते हो, बट एग्जाम के अंदर ये आपको बहुत हाई मार्क्स दिला सकते हैं, राइट. सो मैं इनको क्या कर लूंगा, ए कैटेगरी में रख दूंगा, I'll keep these topics in my A category, right? So इसी तरह से हम क्या करते हैं, in the material also we try to categorize different material कि यार ये material कम है पर इसकी value बहुत ज्यादा है, इसका contribution बहुत ज्यादा है. That's what ABC analysis is all about. Next one, idle time is the time under which full wages are paid to the workers. I'm paying them full wages. No productivity is given by the workers, both A and B or none of the above. Take your time, आराम से answer this question. Now in idle time, no productivity is being given by the employers, plus I am paying them full wages also. That's why both A and B will be the correct choice. या idle time होने की वजह से मेरे को एक्स्ट्रा पे भी करना पड़ रहा होता है. अब कभी कभी ये नॉर्मल लॉस होता है, कभी कभी ये abnormal लॉस भी होता है, राइट? We have seen that in the standard costing chapter also. So either both A and B will be the correct choice. वर्कर को बिठा के रखने के लिए भी आपको उसको पैसा देना पड़ता है, राइट? वर्कर को बैठा के रखने के लिए भी आपको उसको पैसा देना पड़ता है. से फॉर एग्जांपल मैं एक बिल्डिंग बनवा रहा हूं, है ना? मान लो सीमेंट नहीं आया, मान लो स्टॉक नहीं आया, या किसी भी रीजन की वजह से वर्कर को बिठा के रखना पड़ा, तो शाम को उसको 500 रुपए तो दूंगा ना, 400-500 रुपए जो भी उसका बनता है, दैट आई हैव टू पे हिम. सो यहाँ पे तो वेजेस भी जा रही है और मेरी प्रोडक्टिविटी भी नहीं आ रही है. उसी को हम आइडल टाइम बोलते हैं. अब ये नॉर्मल लॉस की वजह से भी हो सकता है, एबनॉर्मल लॉस की वजह से भी हो सकता है. कॉस्ट ऑफ आइडल टाइम ड्यू टू नॉन अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ रॉ मटेरियल. व्हाट विल बी द ट्रीटमेंट? नॉन अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ रॉ मटेरियल अवेलेबल नहीं था तो क्या करूंगा, इस आइडल टाइम को क्या कर दूंगा, कॉस्टिंग P&L के अंदर डाल दूंगा. रॉ मटेरियल अवेलेबल क्यों नहीं था? मेरी गलती की वजह से अवेलेबल नहीं था भाई, सो आई ट्रांसफर दिस टू द कॉस्टिंग P&L. रॉ मटेरियल अवेलेबल होना चाहिए था, रॉ मटेरियल शुड बी अवेलेबल. अच्छा, दिस इज अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग क्वेश्चन एंड 2 times ये एग्जाम में आया हुआ है. दिस क्वेश्चन केम इन योर एग्जामिनेशन ट्वाइस. द रॉयल्टी पेड ऑन प्रोडक्शन टू स्टेट गवर्नमेंट should be classified under which head in the company's accounts? Royalty paid on production to the state governments should be classified under which head in the company's account? 2 times एग्जाम में आया हुआ क्वेश्चन है. डायरेक्ट एक्सपेंस, प्रोडक्शन ओवरहेड, एडमिन एक्सपेंस, सेलिंग ओवरहेड और इनडायरेक्ट एक्सपेंस. Take your time and answer this particular question. Royalty paid on production to state government should be classified under which head in the company's account? Now here it is completely related to my production. The royalty is completely related to my production. So this will become a part of my डायरेक्ट एक्सपेंस. ए का पार्ट बन जाएगा, डायरेक्ट एक्सपेंस का बन जाएगा. Why? Because without paying this royalty, I can't even produce this product. So here in the direct expenses, directly attributable expenses other than material and labor, I can say royalty paid on production or provision of a services will be falling in the direct expense criteria. Right? So ये 2 बार एग्जाम में आया हुआ है. हर बार स्टूडेंट्स इसको क्या करते हैं, या तो प्रोडक्शन से मैप कर देते हैं, या एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन से, या इनडायरेक्ट एक्सपेंस से मैप कर देते हैं. इट्स अ वेरी कॉमन थिंग. जो स्टूडेंट्स एग्जाम में करते हैं, बट द करेक्ट आंसर हियर विल बी डायरेक्ट एक्सपेंस. व्हाई? बिकॉज दिस इज रिलेटेड डायरेक्टली टू माय production. Without that I can't even produce it, and this is the list of the things which are falling in material, which are falling in your labor cost, and which are falling in your direct expenses also. So later on we'll be discussing about rest of the numericals from different chapters. Question for today is, Mr. A is addressing to a costing technique of his product to Mr. C and says that here the cost of completing each stage of work is ascertained, like the cost of making pulp, the cost of making paper from pulp. Which type of costing technique he is referring to? Job costing, batch costing, contract costing, process costing, or standard costing? Mr. A is addressing to a costing technique of his product to Mr. C and says that here the cost of completing each stage of work is ascertained, like cost of making the pulp, cost of making paper from the pulp. That's process costing. Why? Because multiple processes are involved, right? Multiple processes are involved. Like first we make the pulp, then we make the paper from the pulp, right? So I can see that there are two processes which are involved in this particular business, right? So that will be process costing, option D. Next one. What does the under absorption of overhead indicate in manufacturing cost system? What do you mean by under absorption? The actual overheads were less than the overheads allocated to the production. The overheads allocated to the production exceeded the actual overheads. The actual overheads were higher than the overheads allocated to production. The overheads allocated are equal to the actual overheads, or none of the above. Under absorption. This is under absorption. That is the case of under absorption. What happens in the under absorption? The actual overheads were higher than the overheads allocated or absorbed to the production. So I can say that what I have absorbed is just 1 lakh rupees, but the actual overheads are 1,20,000. So I can say that I have under absorbed the overheads by 20,000. Have under absorbed the overheads by 20,000, right? That's what the meaning of under absorption is. Very good. Next one. Which among the following is an incorrect classification of cost? If we classify it on the basis of nature of elements, if we classify it on the basis of nature of elements, which of the following will be an incorrect classification here? Which of the following will be an incorrect classification here? Material, labor, prime cost, other expenses, or none of the above? The correct choice here will be prime cost, right? Prime cost is not a classification based on elements. Based on the elements, we have material, labor, and other expenses. Next one. Which of the following is a social purpose of cost audit? Social purpose of cost audit. Options are in front of you. Have a quick look. Which should be one of the social purpose of cost audit? Guys, the correct choice here will be option D, pinpointing the areas of inefficiencies and mismanagement for the benefit of shareholders and consumers. Right? So this becomes a social purpose. This becomes a social purpose. Why we see the inefficiencies? We see the inefficiencies and mismanagement for the benefit of the shareholders and the consumers. So that can be one of the social purpose. That can be one of the social purpose of the cost audit. Otherwise detection, correction, ये सब तो हम उसके अंदर करते ही हैं. But when we talk about inefficiencies, we are more towards the proprietary aspect, right? We are more towards the proprietary audit aspect. Identify which one of the following does not account for increasing the labor productivity. Which of the following does not account for increasing the labor productivity, job satisfaction, motivating workers, high labor turnover, proper supervision and control, or none of the above? Or none of the above. Which of the following does not account for increasing the labor productivity? Perfect. The correct choice will be high labor turnover, right? High labor turnover. Acha, tell me this one. The closing stock is valued at the oldest stock price in which of the following methods of valuation of inventory? I'm valuing the closing stock. I'm valuing the closing stock at the oldest stock price. At the oldest stock price. Which will be the correct choice here? Which will be the correct choice here? Can you please explain why the options were wrong in the last question? Sure, definitely. The options were wrong in the last question. Why? Because of a framing mistake. I just rechecked the question. And what should be the correct answer here is D only. But in the original question, nowhere consumers were mentioned, right? Nowhere consumers were mentioned. Shareholders were mentioned. Management was mentioned, right? So that's why D become the opt choice. D has the perfect, I will say, option here. Why? Because here they are asking us the social purpose. And by mistake, I think, and consumers were added after every option. So I have removed it. The correct choice here will be D only. Why? Because it is consumer centric here, which makes it closer to the social cause. Right? So that's why option D here will be the correct choice. All of the above will not be the correct choice. Here the correct choice will be LIFO. Okay, option A, LIFO, the oldest stock price. Why? Because last in, first out. Let's suppose I have purchased 3 lots. Right? Last in, first out. So the lot that I have acquired in the last, that will go out first. Last in, first out. So that's why the oldest stock price will be the closing stock valuation, right? तो कहां पे बचेगा? सारा तो lot 1 में से बचेगा. So this will be the oldest stock price in the LIFO. Right? Acha, is LIFO permitted as per accounting standard or Indian accounting standard? Can I use LIFO? LIFO is not at all permitted, right? LIFO is not at all permitted. You are not allowed to use the LIFO. Yes. Acha, tell me what is bin card. What do you mean by bin card? Quantitative as well as value-wise record of material received, issued and balance. Quantitative record of material received, issued and balance. Value-wise record or record of labor attendance, or none of the above. What do you think will be the correct choice here? Yes, the correct choice here will be, guys, option B, quantitative record of material received, issued, and balance. So bin card only cares about the quantitative details and not the value wise detail, right? It's used to track the quantity of the stock. Labor turnover is measured by, so they have given us some of the formulas which are related to labor turnover. Now, what is the meaning of labor turnover? Let's suppose I have 100 employees in my organization. 10 employees left the organization. Now I have to fill again the vacancy of these 10 by some new employees, right? So I can say that I have replaced these employees, right? I have replaced these employees. So the number of person replaced divided by the average number of worker. This is the formula of the labor turnover, right? That's what labor turnover is all about. Here we don't care about separation, right? So how much labor is turned over? How much labor is turned over? That's what the meaning of labor turnover ratio is, right? Acha, tell me this one. When costing loss, there is a loss in my costing, 5,600. That's a loss. Okay, that's a loss. Administrative overheads under absorbed being 600. I have not absorbed this much. What will be the loss as per financial accounts? What will be the loss as per financial accounts? They have given you the costing loss. You need to calculate the financial accounts loss as per the financial accounts, and they have given us the under absorbed overheads, which is 600. This much I have already absorbed in costing, 5,600. What I haven't absorbed is 600. You need to calculate the loss as per the final accounts. You need to calculate the loss as per the final accounts. What will be my loss in this particular case? So this much I have absorbed. What is my under absorption? I need to absorb 600 also. So my loss will widen to 6,200, right? My loss will increase to 6,200. Option C is the correct choice. Option C is the correct choice. This will be my financial accounting ka loss. Time booking refers to a method wherein dash of an employee is recorded. Attendance, food expenses, health status, time spent on a particular job, or all of the above. Time booking refers to a method wherein what aspect of an employee is recorded. When I'm booking the time, I'm actually recording how much time is spent on a particular job. That's what I'm doing, right? Time booking means how much time an employee is spending on a particular job. That's what the meaning of time booking is. So option D is the correct choice here. A very simple one. This question came multiple times in regulatory body examinations. Process cost is very much applicable in what kind of industry? Construction, pharma, airline, customized product, or none of the above? A very direct question. 3-4 times repeat ho chuka hai ye wala question in the competitive examinations, and a very simple one. Yes, it's applicable on the pharma industry, right? कंस्ट्रक्शन में कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कॉस्टिंग इज देयर, एयरलाइन कंपनी के अंदर सर्विस कॉस्टिंग इज देयर और ऑपरेटिंग कॉस्टिंग इज देयर, राइट? कस्टमाइज्ड प्रोडक्ट्स के अंदर व्हाट काइंड ऑफ कॉस्टिंग इज देयर? कैन यू टेल मी व्हाट अबाउट कस्टमाइज्ड प्रोडक्ट्स? What about customized products? Which method I'll be using for customized products? Yes, for customized products, I use job costing, right? I use job costing. So for process costing, pharma industry is the best suited here. One of the element of the cost sheet is factory cost. Can you tell me how it is calculated? You need to calculate the factory cost. So which is the apt formula for the calculation of factory cost? The correct choice here will be option D, prime cost plus your factory overheads and your WIP adjustment is also required. WIP adjustment is also required, right? Why? Because in factory only your WIP is being processed. So you need to account for, you need to do the WIP adjustment as well, prime cost plus factory cost plus your opening WIP minus your closing WIP. Okay. Next one. Which figure of the direct material is taken in the cost sheet for the calculation of the total cost? A very simple one. बहुत बार आया है एग्जामिनेशन के अंदर, स्पेशली फेज 1 का फेवरेट क्वेश्चन होता है, या तो न्यूमेरिकल आ जाता है या फिर डायरेक्टली फॉर्मूला आ जाता है. एंड अ वेरी सिंपल वन. Which figure of direct material we take? We take direct material consumed, right? We take the direct material consumed. And how to calculate the direct material consumed here? How to calculate direct material consumed? Option C, right? Option C. Opening stock plus purchases minus closing stock. That's what consumption is. That's what consumption is. Opening stock plus purchase minus my closing stock. So can I say that 100 rupee ka stock I was already having in my business? I purchased 500 more this year. So I must be having 600 rupee worth of material, worth of raw material, direct material, right? But at the end of the year, I can see only 200 ka closing stock. So what happened to the rest of the 400? Must be consumed, right? Ideally, I should be having 600, but at the end of the year, I can see that the closing stock is just 200 rupees. So what happened to the rest of the 400? It must be consumed in the process. And that's how we take the direct material on the consumption basis, right? We always take it on the consumption basis. Next one, the allotment, keyword, allotment of the whole item of cost to the cost centers or the cost unit is called as what? Now I know the cost. I'm just allotting it. I'm just allotting it to different cost centers or cost units. What it is all about? Overhead absorption, cost apportion, cost allocation, cost allotment, or none of the above. Now you guys must be confused between apportion and allocation, right? Apportion and allocation is the real confusion point here. Now because I am allotting the cost, I already know that what cost belongs to which department or cost center. So here cost allocation becomes the correct choice. here I know the cost, here I know the cost, right? कि products के अंदर कितनी कितनी cost आई, departments में कितनी कितनी cost आई, so I'm directly allocating it, I'm directly allotting the cost. So option C here will be the apt choice. Acha, tell me this one. Dash is the method of dealing with the overheads which involves spreading common cost. Keyword, spreading common cost over cost centers on the basis of benefit received or any other reasonable basis or any other reasonable basis. That's what apportionment means. Cost apportionment. That we discussed this concept, I think we have studied in the very first class of costing. What is the meaning of apportionment? For example, I have a factory in which I produce A, B, and C material. So let's suppose I bought raw material worth rupees 100. Now I know that 20 will be consumed by A, 50 will be consumed by B, and rest of the 30 will be consumed by C. This is called as allocation, because I already know कि A बनाऊंगा तो 20 का लगेगा, B बनाऊंगा तो 50 का लगेगा, C बनाऊंगा तो 30 का लगेगा. What I am doing is I am just allotting it, I'm just allocating it, right? So that's called as cost allocation. But for example, लाइट का बिल आया, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी बिल of 30,000. Can I allocate it? I can't allocate it as of now. I need a reasonable basis. I need a reasonable basis. So say for example, all these three products are produced by machine. So machine hours given honge. I must be having machine hours in the question. That can be one of the reasonable basis. Why? Because jitni zyada machine chali hogi, higher the machine hours, higher will be the electricity bill. Or maybe they have given you the light points. They maybe have given you the light points. How much electricity is being used. Right? So I can apportion it on the reasonable basis. Or let me just give you one more example. Cleaning expenses 1 lakh rupees. Now how to allocate this one? I can't allocate this. That's why I need to apportion it. How to apportion it? On the basis of the space occupancy. I think that will be the best way. Now 40% of the factory area is acquired by product B, is required in the production of B. 30% is required by A. Rest of the 30% is required by C. So I can say that the cleaning expenses can be divided, can be apportioned on this reasonable basis. 40%, 30%, 30% कर दो, apportion कर दो, because we can't allocate it. I don't know exactly B का area clean करने में कितने रुपए लगे. So that's why I have taken a reasonable basis here, right? That's what cost apportionment is. Next one. Which costing method is most suitable for interior decoration projects? Interior decoration projects. Interior decoration projects. Now let's suppose we have a team of interior decorators. Can I say that on every site, for every client, we'll be doing the same interior decoration? No. It is highly customized. It is highly customized as per the requirements, right? And whenever there is a high level of customization, we always follow the job costing. Why? Because there is a high level of customization, right? Which of the following item is not excluded while preparing the cost sheet? Which of the following item is not excluded? That means it is included. Which of the following item is not excluded while preparing the cost sheet? Goodwill written off, provision for taxation, property tax on factory building, transfer to reserves, interest paid. Correct choice here will be property tax on buildings, right? Rest all the things are your financial accounts ka item, not your cost accounts ka item, right? What is the cost determined before the production begins? What is the cost determined before the production begins? A very simple question. This is a previous year question paper of IFSCA. सबसे पहला जो IFSCA का पेपर हुआ था उसमें आया था, ये वाला अभी वाला नहीं, सबसे पहला जो पेपर हुआ था IFSCA का उसके अंदर आया था. Now the problem here is two options are contradictory in nature, right? Standard cost and predetermined cost. But I will say predetermined cost is a broader terminology, and here predetermined cost will be the correct choice. Standard cost is one of the predetermined cost. It is one of the predetermined cost. Standard cost is based on which of the following? Predetermined cost approach. Option D, right? So standard cost एक predetermined cost ही है. So that's why always give broad answers. This is a open-ended question. This is not a specific question. तो इसलिए हम यहाँ पे प्रीडिटरमाइंड कॉस्ट को प्रेफरेंस देंगे, भले ही स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्ट भी है तो भी, राइट? क्योंकि स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्ट एक तरह का प्रीडिटरमाइंड कॉस्ट ही है. प्रीडिटरमाइंड कॉस्ट इज अ ब्रॉडर टर्मिनोलॉजी. नेक्स्ट one of the element of the cost sheet is cost of production. Can you tell me how it is calculated? How it is calculated? Cost of production. अच्छा आपको बता दूं, सी डी और ई ये सारे ऑप्शन गलत हैं. Why? Because they have adjusted the WIP. They have adjusted the WIP. अरे in factory cost the WIP is already adjusted. The WIP is already adjusted. ये कल कैलकुलेट करने से तो फैक्ट्री कॉस्ट आ जाएगी, right? When you are adjusting WIP, that will give you factory cost. In the question they have asked cost of production. Cost of production, right? Deducting the office and administration overheads doesn't make any sense. We always add the cost. Option B is also incorrect. So even if you use the rejection approach, you will come to a conclusion कि option A will be the correct choice here, right? Here we have used the rejection approach. जब भी ऐसी बहुत सारी चीजें मल्टीपल ऑप्शंस में दिख जाए ना, सो या तो कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट होगा इन तीन ऑप्शंस में, या फिर कंफ्यूजन सॉर्ट हो जाएगा. जैसे इसके अंदर कंफ्यूजन सॉर्ट हो रहा है, तीनों ऑप्शन एक साथ एलिमिनेट हो जाएंगे, राइट? मैं पढ़ूंगा भी नहीं क्या प्लस कर रखा है क्या माइनस कर रखा है. व्हाई? बिकॉज they have taken only factory overheads and WIP adjustment. By adjusting factory overheads and WIP adjustment, I will always get factory cost, never the cost of production, right? Because on the left hand side there is prime cost in 3 of the cases. अब एडजस्ट कर भी लूंगा तो घूम फिर के तो फैक्ट्री कॉस्ट पे पहुंचूंगा ना. अब कुछ ऑप्शंस इसमें से गलत होंगे, कुछ सही होंगे. मेरे लिए तो सारे के सारे गलत है ना, मेरे लिए तो सारे के सारे गलत है. क्यों? क्योंकि मुझे फैक्ट्री कॉस्ट पे पहुंचना ही नहीं है, मुझे तो कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन पे पहुंचना है. सो यहां से आप एकदम मास एलिमिनेशन कर सकते हो, ठीक है? डायरेक्टर रेम्यूनरेशन एंड एक्सपेंसेस आर पार्ट ऑफ व्हाट काइंड ऑफ एक्सपेंस? डायरेक्टर्स रेम्यूनरेशन. अ वेरी स्ट्रेट क्वेश्चन, अ वेरी सिंपल वन. It's a part of your administration cost, right? It's a part of your administration overhead. What is the relationship between retention ratio and cash ratio? एक रेगुलेटरी बॉडी एग्जाम में आया हुआ है. रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन रिटेंशन रेशियो एंड कैश रेशियो. फेज 2 का क्वेश्चन है. हालांकि तो वैसे फेज 1 का आना चाहिए था मेरे हिसाब से, बट फेज 2 में आया था एक एग्जाम में. रिटेंशन रेशियो एंड कैश रेशियो ऑलवेज इक्वल्स टू 1, राइट? फॉर एग्जाम्पल 100 रुपी, इसमें से कैश आई हैव पेड 80 rupees to the contractor, rest of the 20 rupee I have retained, right? So I will say 80% plus 20% will always be 100, or I can say 0.8 plus 0.2 will always be 1. So option B is the correct choice here. Next one. Which of the following is not the classification of overhead based on the functionality? Based on the functionality, which of the following is not the correct classification of the overhead? Based on the functionality. Fixed overhead, right? It's a behavioral classification and not a functional classification. So option C will be the answer here. Acha, tell me, bad debt is an example of what? Distribution, production, selling, administration, none of the above. Bad debt is an example of what? Acha, what are bad debts? Tell me, what are bad debts? Tell me, what do you mean by bad debts? So majority of the students are saying E. One student, I think, Raghu. Raghu is saying C. What do you mean by bad debts? Creditors would default. How can a creditor default? Rutanjay, how can a creditor default? We are going to pay the creditors, right? A creditor can't default. Debtors default. Dues not paid by us after deadline. That's not bad debt. Borrower defaults accepted. NPAs. NPA is not a bad debt. Debtors which are unable to pay. Yes, Vaishali, that's correct. When debtors does not pay. Yes. So let's suppose you have given me goods worth rupees 1 lakh on credit basis. You guys have given me goods worth rupees 1 lakh on credit basis. I need to pay you 1 lakh rupees. I am not paying you 1 lakh rupees. You will call me as a bad debt. You will call me as a bad debt. Okay. NPA is a non-performing asset. You will classify any advance as an NPA अगर उसका पैसा 90 days तक नहीं आया, उससे related interest, उससे related principal. If you are not able to realize, if a bank is not able to realize, that's called as an NPA. Bad debt मतलब आना ही नहीं है. NPA सही हो सकता है, right? NPA फिर भी सही हो सकता है. It's just a classification criteria of banks as per the prudential norms of RBI कि ये नॉन परफॉर्मिंग असेट है, अभी तक 90 डेज हो गए, इससे पैसा नहीं आया. बैड डेट से पैसा आना ही नहीं है, बैड डेट से पैसा आना ही नहीं है, राइट? सो बैड डेट इज एन एग्जांपल ऑफ व्हाट? बैड डेट होता क्या है सर? व्हेन द डेटर इज नॉट पेइंग द मनी. अच्छा अब बताओ डेटर क्या होता है? व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय डेटर? टू whom I have sold goods on credit. To whom I have sold goods on credit. So यहाँ पे सेलिंग ओवरहेड्स का पार्ट बन सकता है. ये लॉस है, ये सेलिंग ओवरहेड का पार्ट बन सकता है. सर पर आपने तो बताया था डेटर तो फाइनेंशियल अकाउंट्स का आइटम है, कॉस्ट अकाउंट्स का आइटम ही नहीं है. वो प्रोविजन फॉर डेटर्स था, वो प्रोविजन फॉर डेटर्स था. व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट प्रोविजन फॉर डेटर्स, वी क्रिएट प्रोविजंस इन फाइनेंशियल अकाउंटिंग, we create provisions in financial accounting. But when we talk about bad debts, which is actually a loss, right, can be related with the selling overheads, Why? Because bad debts are ultimately associated with the credit sales. Next one, which of the following overheads cost may not be apportioned on the basis of direct wages? Here we are having so many overhead cost. Which of the following cost will not be apportioned on the basis of direct wages? So perquisite, again, it is a non-cash benefit, right? Perquisite again is a non-cash benefit only. I can relate it with the direct wages ultimately, but if I talk about the managerial salary, Managerial salary is not related to direct wages, right? The salary that I am paying to the managers is not at all related to the direct labor wages, right? They are more related to administration. They are more related to administration. Sir, if we are the borrower and we are defaulting in the payment, then what will be the case? So usually the loan default is a financial failure. The loan default is a financial failure. It will be a part of financial accounts, right? But when we talk about bad debt, it's a kind of selling risk. It's a kind of selling risk, right? Bad debts are a kind of selling risk, but if I'm defaulting on a loan, that's a financial failure. That's the cost of financial failure. Loan defaults is a element of your financial accounts. They are the part of administration cost. Yes, managerial salaries are a part of administration cost, and that's why it's not apt, it's not a good practice to link it with the direct wages, right? Next one, if the profit volume ratio is 30, what does the remaining 70 represent? Now, this is one of the most repeated question in the competitive examination. This is one of the most repeated question in the examination, and I can say you that this concept will be again and again be very useful for solving numerical questions of marginal costing. We have solved in the classes as well, right? By using this concept. What does the remaining 70% represent if the PV ratio is 30%? So what is the income statement as per marginal costing? First I have sales, then I deduct the variable cost, then I get the contribution. Now what is this contribution? This is nothing but PVR only, PV ratio only, right? Contribution, PVR is nothing but contribution to sales ratio, right? So if I try to express contribution in terms of percentage, it will be nothing but PV ratio only. So if my sales is 100% and my PV ratio is 30%, what will be the rest of the 70%? It will be the variable cost ratio, which is nothing but variable cost divided by sales into 100. Right? Whenever somebody asks you, or whenever somebody says you that the PV ratio is 30%, you need to hear that statement definitely, but at the same time on the back end, you need to come to a conclusion that okay, the variable cost ratio is 70%. Variable cost means total variable cost. Marginal cost means additional cost. Additional variable cost means the marginal cost, right? I can definitely understand, Kushwant, what you are trying to say, because sometimes they use it interchangeably also. Like we have done a question in the paid class where they have written marginal costing and we have assumed it as the variable cost. That's why this confusion is coming into the picture. But the correct choice here will be variable cost only. Why? Because whatever is left, whatever is left, if I deduct PVR from sales, I'll get the variable cost, right? And in the statement of marginal costing, we don't have the word marginal cost, we have the word variable cost. So this becomes the apt choice. This becomes the perfect choice here. Why? Because in the statement of income as per marginal costing, I never use the word marginal cost, but we always use the word variable cost. The marginal cost, we can say that cost of producing one extra unit, right? Which is closely related on the approach of variable costing only. But here the perfect choice will be the variable cost as per the terminologies of the statement of the terminologies of the income statement of marginal costing, right? We always use the word variable cost here. And this concept is important. Multiple times it is repeated in different examinations. And even if it's not coming directly in your examination, a part of it can be used in a numerical question, राइट. बट यूजुअली इस तरह के न्यूमेरिकल क्वेश्चंस देखा गया है कि फेज 2 में ज्यादा आते हैं रादर देन फेज 1. ये फेज 1 का क्वेश्चन है, राइट. ये फेज 1 का क्वेश्चन है. एंड द क्वेश्चंस दैट वी आर डूइंग इज नॉट स्पेसिफिकली रिलेटेड टू फेज 1 और फेज 2. इट्स इन अ मिक्स ओनली, राइट. न्यूमेरिकल क्लासेस भी जो आपकी आएंगी दैट विल बी आल्सो इन अ मिक्स. सो कहीं पे भी आ सकते हैं, पर ज्यादातर ऐसा देखा गया है कि जो बड़े बड़े क्वेश्चंस होते हैं, न्यूमेरिकल बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस होते हैं, वो आपके फेज 2 में ज्यादा आते हैं. बट आई एम नॉट सेइंग यू टू लीव द न्यूमेरिकल क्वेश्चन. व्हाट इज द बेस्ट अप्रोच कि आप अभी न्यूमेरिकल क्वेश्चन सारे कर लो. अगर फेज 1 में कोई आ जाता है तो बहुत बढ़िया, यू विल बी हैविंग दैट कॉम्पिटिटिव एज, बिकॉज यूजुअली लोग न्यूमेरिकल्स पढ़ते नहीं है फॉर फेज 1. पर ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए, कभी भी ट्रेंड चेंज हो जाता है, राइट. दे कैन आस्क मल्टीपल न्यूमेरिकल्स इन फेज 1 ऑल्सो, at least of easy to moderate level. So why not to prepare at the maximum level, right? Always make your preparation up to phase 2 level. So here variable cost will be the correct choice. Next one, there is one budget which is prepared as a consolidated summary of all the functional budgets, and you need to identify which is the following: flexible, fixed, functional, budget center or master budget. A very simple question from the budgetary control chapter. A very simple chapter. The correct choice here is master budget, right? Option E, master budget is the correct choice here. Perfect. Next one. The manager is interested in knowing the cost of the goods available for sale. Cost of the goods available for sale. How he will come to this particular figure? Cost of goods available for sale. Obviously, in your cost of production, you need to add the opening stock of the finished goods. And I will say this is a very poor framing of options. I can easily eliminate all the options in one go, right? So this, I will say that I need to change this question. I'm marking it. The options are not very well defined. I'm just marking it, right? The options can be much better. So what is the cost of the goods which is available for sale? What is your cost of production plus whatever opening stock you already have in your finished goods? That will be your cost of the goods which is instantly available for sale, right? Next one, you need to calculate the direct material consumed. You need to calculate here the direct material consumed. A very simple question, a very direct question. What mistake a student can make is कि ओपनिंग स्टॉक क्लोजिंग स्टॉक के मैथमेटिकल ऑपरेशन के अंदर कुछ मिस्टेक कर दी. बट इट्स अ वेरी डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन. The correct choice here will be 91,000, right? So they have given me the opening stock of raw material, which is 7,000, plus the purchase is 90,000, minus the closing stock, which is 6,000, right? So this gives me 91,000. This gives me 91,000. Next one. Which of the following is not one of the differences between process in job costing? Under job costing, a particular job is carried out as per the specified order, while under process costing, there is continuous flow of production of the homogeneous product. Looks fine. Under the job costing, the cost is determined for each order, while under process, the costs are compiled on time basis. Under job costing, the costs are computed when a job is completed, while under process costing, costs are calculated at the end of the cost period. Under job costing, production is standardized and require less control, while under process costing, more effective control by management is required as production happens in large quantity. Or all are correct? Job costing, production is never standardized. It is customized. It is customized, right? So option D here becomes the correct answer. Option D here becomes the correct answer. Now in the examination ऐसा हो सकता है कि ये ट्रू फॉल्स टाइप वाले क्वेश्चंस के अंदर आपको दो स्टेटमेंट दिखें और दोनों ही गलत हो, तब आपको ज्यादा गलत वाला चूज करना पड़ता है. तब आपको ज्यादा गलत वाला चूज करना पड़ता है. Exactly, 2 और 3 are contradictory in nature. 2 और 3 are contradictory in nature, but that's why I was saying कि एग्जाम के अंदर भी इस टाइप के क्वेश्चंस आ सकते हैं जहां पे आपको ज्यादा गलत चूज करना पड़ेगा. नाउ दिस डी ऑप्शन इज अ वेरी डायरेक्टली गलत. आई कैन से job costing is never standardized. Job costing is never standardized. So that's why in the examination I will go with D option. I will go with D option. Now this is a very poorly framed question, but ये एग्जाम का क्वेश्चन है, किसी न किसी रेगुलेटरी बॉडी के अंदर आया हुआ है, राइट? किसी न किसी रेगुलेटरी बॉडी के अंदर आया हुआ है और उस टाइम पे हमको क्या करना पड़ता है? ऐसे ऑप्शन के साथ जाना पड़ता है जो कि सबसे गलत है. वाई? बिकॉज वी हैव टू चूज द वन विच इज नॉट करेक्ट हियर. तो जो सबसे खराब ऑप्शन है, जो सबसे गलत है, जो देख के समझ में आ रहा है कि यार सर डी तो हो ही नहीं सकता, विदाउट एनी कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन डी नहीं हो सकता क्योंकि जॉब कॉस्टिंग इज नेवर स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड. गो अहेड विद दैट ऑप्शन. गो अहेड विद दैट ऑप्शन. देखो प्रोसेस कॉस्टिंग के अंदर होमोजीनियस की अगर मैं बात करूं तो देखो, अगर मैं मेडिसिन बना रहा हूं या कोई ऐसा पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट बना रहा हूं जिसको मल्टीपल प्रोसेसेस से पास होना पड़ता है, तो वहां होमोजीनियस प्रोडक्ट की बात ही नहीं होती, वहां मल्टीपल प्रोसेस की बात होती है, राइट? अच्छा, प्रोसेसिंग मुझे सेम टाइप की करनी पड़ेगी, इसलिए मैं होमोजीनियस को रिलेट कर सकता हूं. इसलिए मैं होमोजीनियस को रिलेट कर सकता हूं सुमेश. एंड 2 एंड 3 डेफिनेटली कॉन्ट्राडिक्टरी है यहाँ पे, है ना रोहन? और ये एग्जाम में आया हुआ क्वेश्चन है. सो ऐसे क्वेश्चन भी कितनी बार आ जाते हैं. पीएफआरडी में भी सम स्टूडेंट्स वर सेइंग कि सर एक क्वेश्चन ऐसा था जिसमें समझ में ही नहीं आ रहा था, है ना? तो वहां पे हमको सबसे खराब ऑप्शन के साथ जाना चाहिए अगर वो फॉल्स स्टेटमेंट आइडेंटिफिकेशन का क्वेश्चन है. सो गो हेड विद द वर्स्ट ऑप्शन कि ये तो सर सही हो ही नहीं सकता. और अगर बेस्ट स्टेटमेंट या ट्रू स्टेटमेंट आइडेंटिफाई करना है तो गो हेड विद द सबसे बढ़िया ऑप्शन, राइट? दैट बिकम्स द ओनली चॉइस. दैट बिकम्स द ओनली चॉइस क्योंकि कुछ ना कुछ तो सेलेक्ट करना ही है. नन ऑफ द अबव क्वेश्चन में दे नहीं रखा, और ये ऑप्शन होते हुए अगर नन ऑफ द अबव सेलेक्ट कर लिया तो वो भी फिर बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम हो जाता है, राइट? सो बेस्ट चॉइस बनता है ऑप्शन डी. अच्छा, टेल मी व्हाट अ कॉस्ट ड्राइवर इज. व्हाट अ कॉस्ट ड्राइवर इज एन आइटम ऑफ प्रोडक्शन ओवरहेड, a common cost which is shared over the common of the cost center, a cost relating to transport, or an activity which generates the cost. An activity which generates the cost, right? Because it is actually driving the cost. It is actually driving the cost. A cost driver is A force behind the overhead cost is an allocation base, is a transaction that is significant determinant of cost, or D, all of the above. Here the correct choice will be option D. Why? Because cost driver is everything. It is actually the force behind the overhead cost. Overhead cost बढ़ना और कम होना cost driver से directly impact होता है. It is an allocation base. Yes, we allocate the overheads based on cost drivers, right? Is a transaction that is a significant determinant of cost. Yes, it is actually driving force behind the cost. So all of the above will be the correct choice here, option D. Next one. Which of the following is not a correct match? They have given you the activities, they have given you the cost driver. You need to find out which is not a correct match. Inspection wala is not a correct match, right? Why? Because inspection को machine hours पे cost driver बनाने से better है number of inspections बना दो. It will be a better match. It will be a better match, right? So ये तो बहुत ही सिंपल से समझ में आ रहा है कि ऑप्शन डी इसका करेक्ट चॉइस हो जाएगा. Next one, you need to read the following statements and let me know which one is true, which one is false. Standard cost is calculated before the production starts. Option B, sunk cost should influence the future business decisions. Option C, marginal cost is the cost of producing one more unit of a product. B is the correct, right? Standard cost is actually calculated before the production start. That's why we call it as predetermined cost. We are predetermining the cost. Sunk cost future business decision by कुछ नहीं हो सकता, right? False है. Sunk cost is irrelevant. Then marginal cost is the cost of producing one unit of the product. That's correct. That is again true, right? So guys, that's all from my end for today. I'll be also posting some of the homework questions in this PPT. So after completing this class, you can download the PPT and solve the homework questions as well. Sunk cost क्या होता है? देखो, sunk cost का मतलब होता है जो डूब गई, जो डूब गई. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आपको एक फोन खरीदना है. लेट सपोज यू वांट टू बाय अ ब्रांड न्यू फोन. You have 10,000 rupee in your pocket. You want to buy a 10,000 rupee phone. अभी ये relevant cost है क्योंकि अभी तक आपने फोन लिया नहीं है. Once I have bought this phone of 10,000 rupee, अब कुछ कर सकता हूं क्या इसका? अब फ्यूचर के अंदर कुछ काम आएगा क्या डिसीजन मेकिंग में? भाई 10,000 rupee चले गए. That is now a sunk cost. That is now a sunk cost, right? So that's why it becomes irrelevant for the business decision making. अच्छा, लास्ट ईयर का रेंट पे किया था, लास्ट ईयर की फैक्ट्री का रेंट पे किया था 10 लाख रुपीज. इज इट रेलेवेंट नाउ? नो, बिकॉज आई हैव ऑलरेडी पेड इट. लैंडलॉर्ड से जाके वापस तो नहीं ले सकता. सो दैट बिकम्स अ संक कॉस्ट. ओके ओके. So guys, the first question for today is the strategy that aims to involve workers from multiple functions and levels in the organization in working together to address a problem or to improve a particular process. One of the most repeated question. one of the most repeated question. A strategy which involves workers from multiple functions and levels in the organization. Here we are working together to address a particular problem, or we are in the process of improving a particular process. Okay, so many option A I can see, JIT just in time, John option B, okay. TPM, okay. Any other answer? अब सिक्स सिग्मा और सेल्यूलर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ही बच गए. The correct answer here is Kaizen, right? Why? Because in Kaizen, it's a strategy where multiple workers are involved from different functions, for solving problems. Yes, Kaizen is gradual improvements, but in Kaizen only we discuss the fact that we need to involve multiple workers from different functions so that we can address a particular problem. Kaizen is the correct choice here, option B. Next one. The most important approach to the measurement of the total productive measurement performance is known as what? Total productive measurement. The most important approach to the measurement of the total productive measurement performance is known as what? Option B here is the correct choice, which is overall equipment effectiveness measure. Okay, overall equipment effectiveness measure. Option B here is the correct choice. Next one. Now, using the following data, you need to calculate the economic order quantity EOQ. EOQ. We have the following data. You need to calculate the economic order quantity. Annual consumption is given. Cost per order is given. Cost per kg per raw material is given 2 rupees. Storage cost of the inventory is given, and you need to calculate the EOQ, economic order quantity. So even in the examination, if you get a question, they will give you very simple figures. So no worries at all about the calculator. As of now, you can use it. But in the examination, definitely they will be giving you simple figures so that you can easily calculate them by using the basic quant techniques, right? Okay, as of now, I have received 3 answers. 2500. Okay, 4 now. Raghu, Abdul, Rohan, Vaishali, option C. And yes, option C is the correct choice here. Option C is the correct choice here. Let me just quickly calculate this one. It's a very simple question. We have practiced it multiple times. 2 multiplied by my annual consumption 10,000 multiplied by the ordering cost per order. They have given me per order only. Divided by my storage cost divided by my storage cost or my carrying cost. So what is my storage cost? 8% of the average inventory. What is the cost of my inventory? 2 rupees is the cost of the raw material that I have to carry as of now. So 8% of 2 rupees. It will be anywhere around 0.16, right? 0.16. So you'll be getting here 2500. You'll be getting here 2500 and 2500. Option C will be the correct choice here. 2 multiplied by the annual consumption multiplied by the ordering cost per order divided by storage cost, which is nothing but 8% of 2 rupees. 8% of 2 rupees, 2500 will be the correct choice. In the examination, they will be giving you simple figures so that you can easily compute that without using calculators. Next one. In process costing, certain amount of loss occur at various stages of production. Out of these, one of the type of loss consists of loss due to carelessness, machine breakdown, accident, or use of defective material, etc. What should be the accounting treatment of this type of loss as per your understanding? A very simple, a very straight question. So guys, we transfer it to the costing P&L. Okay, we transfer it to the costing P&L. Whenever we are doing a question of costing, prefer costing P&L over just P&L. Okay, because in the P&L account that we prepare in cost accounting is called as costing P&L, right? So we'll transfer it to P&L account, and that's what we do in the case of abnormal loss, right? Yes, it is an abnormal loss. Why? Because due to carelessness or machine breakdown, right? It was due to the carelessness of my workers. So this is a complete abnormal loss. In abnormal loss, what we do is we transfer it to the costing P&L. PDCA का full form. Can you tell me the PDCA का full form? So it's nothing but a methodology, a process. Yes, Vaishali. Perfect. So option A, Vaishali, Rohan and John is the correct choice. Raghu, perfect. Plan, do, check, act. Plan, do, check, act. Acha, tell me this one. 5S fits in which stage of the PDCA cycle in the context of organization striving for continuous improvement? 5S will fit in which of the stage of plan, do, check, act? So this is more related to the execution stuff, right? Option B here is the correct. 5S is an enabling activity which is involving organizing, standardizing the work areas so that it is very much aligned with the do stuff of the PDCA cycle. Which one of the following is not a benefit of Shine? A part of 5S, which of the following is not a benefit of Shine? Less production downtime, happier employees, improved quality, inventory reduction, none of the above. Perfect. Inventory reduction won't be an outcome, a benefit of Shine, right? Because in Shine, we focus on cleanliness, maintaining cleanliness. This reduces downtime, this makes the employee happy, it improves the quality, but reduction in the inventory won't be possible because of Shine. Next one. Dash is defined as the achievement of real and permanent reduction in the cost, in the unit cost of goods manufactured or services rendered without impairing their sustainability for the use intended or diminution in the quality of the product. Real and permanent. The correct choice here will be cost reduction. Okay, cost reduction, aim for the permanent reduction and real reduction. Next one. Which of the following does Kaizen improvement process not focus on? Here we are having some options. Option A, 5S. Acha, option B means it's a Japanese term. It's more related to error proofing or prevention of errors. Then we have just-in-time principles and improvement by innovation. Which of the following does Kaizen improvement process not focus on? The correct choice here will be improvement by innovation. It is not a focus area of Kaizen, right? That's not a focus area. Perfect. Next one. Which principle or technique is considered as the base platform for TPM? For TPM. Now we have done this in a chart format also in the paid classes. If you guys remember, there was a chart of TPM and a base was created in that chart. A base was also created in that chart. Options are Six Sigma, 5S. Yes, perfect. 5S becomes the base of TPM, right? We have done it in a chart format also. Next one, as per the Six Sigma technique. As per the Six Sigma technique, the higher sigma number means what? The closer is the process to defects, perfection, prediction, highest quality, highest speed. Higher the Six Sigma number. That's a very simple one. Higher the Six Sigma number, closer the process is to perfection, right? Closer the process is to perfection, and Six Sigma is nothing but a sigma is a statistical term. C Limited uses process costing system and inspect its goods post manufacturing. An engineer noticed that on 31st May, the following data was given. Good units completed 15,000. Normal spoilage 300 units. Abnormal spoilage 100 units. The unit cost were material 2.5 and the conversion cost, which is related to labor and overhead, 6 rupees. The number of units that the company would transfer to its finished goods stock, its finished goods stock, and the related cost of these units will be what? टेक योर टाइम, आराम से ट्राई टू कैलकुलेट, आराम से रीड कर लो क्वेश्चन को, 1-2 मिनट लो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. So here we can see material cost is, my material cost is 2.5. My conversion cost, which is including labor and overhead, is 6 rupee, right? Is 6 rupee. I need to incur this, and I usually charge the cost pertaining to the normal loss as well. Why? Because ultimately I'll be absorbing this thing. I'll be absorbing this in the cost of good unit, right? In the cost of good unit. So what will be the cost here? I will charge this cost on 15,300. I'll charge this cost on 15,300, right? So 15,000 completed units plus my normal loss 15,300 multiplied by 8.5. So this gives me 1,30,050 rupees, right? This will be my total cost, and this cost will be absorbed by 15,000 units, right? This cost will be absorbed by 15,000 units. So yes, very good. John, Raghu, and Vaishali, you got the correct answer here, right? So when I'm multiplying, I'll be considering the normal loss units as well. Why? Because मैंने इसके ऊपर भी तो expenditure तो incur किया ही है. अच्छा sir, why you are not considering the abnormal loss? It will directly go to costing P&L. It will directly go to costing P&L. I can't touch the per unit cost. I can't include the per unit cost. I can't increase the per unit cost because of the because of the abnormal loss, but normal loss I need to consider. So my total cost becomes 1,30,050, and my total units will remain 15,000 only. Why? Because I need to increase the cost per unit of the goods. I need to increase the cost per unit of the goods. Now this is a different type of a question, okay? This is a different type of a question as compared to the regular questions that we are getting in the regulatory body examination. Next one, dash capacity is defined as actual utilized capacity of the plant. So look, Rohan, they have given me good units completed, so it can never include anything else, right? This is not my raw material introduced. This is not my raw material introduced, right? So this can never be inclusive of normal loss and abnormal loss because they are already completed. They are already completed. One mistake that students can make in the examination, they can consider that 15,000 is inclusive of everything. So we need to deduct normal loss, we need to deduct abnormal loss, and so on. It won't be like that because it is goods completed. It is goods completed, right? That's why we have directly taken 15,000. Perfect. Dash capacity is defined as actually utilized capacity of the plant. Dash capacity is defined as the actual utilized capacity. Actual utilized capacity. Look, my installed capacity is 1 lakh units. My normal capacity is maybe 80,000 units. So this is my installed capacity. This is my normal capacity. Here they are asking me actually utilized capacity. So let me eliminate some options for you. Now tell me. Actually utilized capacity, the best option here will be the practical capacity. Why? Because whatever your practical capacity, that means you have actually utilized that much only, right? एक्चुअली यूटिलाइज कैपेसिटी को हम प्रैक्टिकल कैपेसिटी से ज्यादा बेटर रिलेट कर सकते हैं भाई. नॉर्मल कैपेसिटी तो मतलब जितने पे तुम ऑपरेट करते हो, क्या एक्चुअली भी तुमने उस साल उतने पे ही ऑपरेट किया है? दैट विल बी मोर रिलेटेड टू प्रैक्टिकल कैपेसिटी. दैट विल बी मोर रिलेटेड टू प्रैक्टिकल कैपेसिटी. Difference between normal and practical capacity is nothing but the difference between normal and actual capacity. Now my normal capacity this year was 80,000 rupees, but actually I have just utilized 70,000 units. So that becomes my practical capacity or my actual capacity. What is installed capacity? So let's suppose I bought a machinery which can produce maximum 1 lakh units, This is my installed capacity, or I can say, Jayita, that this is my maximum capacity, maximum installed capacity. That's the maximum number of units I can produce. That's what the capacity of my machine is with which I have installed it. If I want to produce 1,20,000 units, then I need to make certain adjustments in my machinery. Maybe I need to incorporate some new hardware also, right? So for example, you are having a hard disk or a pen drive, or maybe your phone is around, for example, 1 terabyte space. Your phone is having a 1 TB space, right? That's your installed capacity. That's your installed capacity. But normally you use anywhere around 800 GB. Normally you need 800 GB only. But what is your actually utilized capacity will be more related with the practical capacity. अगर मुझे actual का synonym देखना हो, right, तो मैं practical को टिक कर दूंगा यहाँ पे. तो मैं practical को टिक कर दूंगा यहाँ पे. Now this is a different type of a question again. It's there somewhere in the ICI material or ICMAI material, right? So that's why I have taken this one. That's why I have taken this one. Which of the following will be true if a company reduces its variable cost? What if you start reducing your variable cost? What will happen? What will happen if you start reducing your variable cost? If I start reducing my variable cost, what will happen? My selling price used to be 10 rupees. It's 10 rupee in both the cases. My variable cost is 4 rupee here, so my contribution is 6 rupee. What if I start reducing it? Now it is 2 rupees, so I can say my contribution is now 8 rupees. So obviously the contribution margin will increase. The contribution margin will increase. That's the number one observation. So let's cut the option in which the contribution margin is decreasing. So now I have any of the above depending on the level of production. Now that's hilarious. So I'm cutting this also, right? I'm cutting this also. So now I have option A and option B. Now I have option A and option C, sorry, right? B is over, D is also over, E is also over. Option A and C. Option A and C. So Nidhi, Abdul, John, Vaishali are going with option C. Ashu is going with option A, okay. Now the first part is contribution margin will increase. It's correct in both the cases. The first part is correct in both the cases, but what is break-even point? Can you guys tell me the formula to calculate break-even points? Can you guys tell me the formula to calculate the break-even point in unit? Anyone? Let's see how many of you remember the formula. Fixed cost divided by contribution, fixed cost divided by variable cost. Fixed cost divided by contribution per unit. So Nidhi, very good. Fixed cost divided by contribution per unit. Okay. So per unit लिखना जरूरी है ना, per unit लिखना जरूरी है. Yes, Vaishali, it can be fixed cost divided by PVR as well, है ना, अगर वैल्यू में चाहिए तो. अगर वैल्यू में चाहिए तो अब बताओ कौन सा करेक्ट आंसर होना चाहिए. कौन सा करेक्ट आंसर होना चाहिए? देखो फिक्स कॉस्ट तो कांस्टेंट है. फिक्स कॉस्ट तो कांस्टेंट है. इफ योर contribution per unit is increasing, that means your denominator is going up but your numerator is constant. Your numerator is constant but your denominator is going up. That will eventually reduce the BEP. Technically, mathematically, it will reduce your BEP, right? Option C is the correct choice. Option C is the correct choice. Numerator is same but the denominator is going up. but the denominator is going up. So 10,000 डिवाइडेड बाय 6 करके देखो, 10,000 डिवाइडेड बाय 8 करके देखो, ये वाला आंसर कम आएगा. ठीक है, ऑब्वियसली बात है, ये वाला तो कम ही आएगा, है ना, कि सेकंड वाला कम ही आएगा. क्यों? क्योंकि आपने कंट्रीब्यूशन बढ़ा दिया. अरे कंट्रीब्यूशन आपके फिक्स कॉस्ट को भी तो कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है, तो जितना ज्यादा कंट्रीब्यूशन होगा, हायर द कंट्रीब्यूशन, लोअर विल बी द ब्रेक इवन पॉइंट ना, क्योंकि आप बहुत जल्दी रिकवर कर जाओगे, आप बहुत जल्दी रिकवर कर जाओगे ब्रेक इवन पे, तो राइट. कंट्रीब्यूशन क्या होता है? व्हाट इज कंट्रीब्यूशन? टोटल ऑफ फिक्स कॉस्ट एंड प्रॉफिट, total of fixed cost and profit, right? There is an element of fixed cost, there is an element of profit as well. So if my contribution is higher, I will recover fast, right, from the losses that I am making, and I'll hit the BP soon. So that's why option C here will be the correct choice. Option C here will be the correct choice. Okay, next one. Just give me a second, guys. Just give me a second. Okay, guys, let's continue. Next one. Generally for the process, generally for the purpose of cost sheet preparation, that's a easy one. I think it's a repeated one also in session 2 or maybe session 2 I have covered it. The cost classified on the basis of what? While preparing the cost sheet, I'll classify the cost on the basis of what? Any idea, anyone? जब cost sheet बना रहा हूँगा तो कैसे classify करूँगा cost को? That's always on the basis of functions, right? Next one. Which method uses the statistical analysis to find the best fit line for the cost behavior? Statistical analysis to fit the best line of cost behavior. Now, this is a method which uses the statistical analysis. There are few methods in which we can segregate the semi-variable cost. Now, this particular concept why I have taken, because this is from the deep part of the semi-variable cost. I don't know whether this will come in your examination or not. Particularly, we can say 2-3 questions from today's class, which can be which can look out of course, which can look definitely out of syllabus. That's least square method. Okay, least square method is nothing but a method in order to we can use that for segregation of the semi-variable cost. So 2-3 questions we'll be doing that you guys won't be able to directly map with your syllabus, right? I'll be sharing you some of the methods also today with which you can segregate the variable, semi-variable cost. Practically in the examination, we never do it, right? I'll be telling you which method we actually use in the examination for segregation of the variable, semi-variable cost. But you need to at least remember the names of these methods that we are using for the segregation of semi-variable cost, and statistical analysis is related to the least square method, right? Because it's nothing but also using the regression methods for segregating the semi-variable cost. We can say that this is out of course as of now, but please do remember the name. Once in a regulatory body exam, they have asked this question. That's why I'm covering it. Okay, that's why I'm covering it. Otherwise, practically how to segregate the variable cost, you already know. Next one, which method for segregation of the variable cost uses an equation-based approach? Equation-based approach to solve the variable and the fixed cost component. Graphical, high-low, linear equation least square. From the name itself we can say linear equation will be the correct choice. ये क्वेश्चन आया था एक एग्जामिनेशन के अंदर, राइट? ये क्वेश्चन आया था एग्जामिनेशन के अंदर, और ऐसा एक क्वेश्चन डेफिनेटली आपके एग्जाम में भी आएगा इन 2026, जब भी आप एग्जाम दे रहे हो, फेज 1 फेज 2 कोई भी एग्जाम दे रहे हो, एक क्वेश्चन हमेशा ऐसा आएगा जो आपको लगेगा सर ये तो हमने पढ़ा ही नहीं, या आपने पढ़ाया ही नहीं, या सर ये तो मॉक टेस्ट में था ही नहीं। वो हमेशा आएगा, ठीक है? मैं पूरा आईसीआई मटेरियल पढ़ा दूंगा तो भी एक क्वेश्चन ऐसा आएगा जो कोर्स के बाहर होगा, और उस क्वेश्चन का क्या करना है, लॉजिकली देखना है कि वेदर वी आर एबल टू आंसर इट और नॉट, ठीक है? जैसे अगर मैं एग्जाम में होता और मेरे को एक कॉन्सेप्ट का कुछ नहीं आता तो भी मैं सी टिक करके आ जाता, तो भी मैं एक बार तो सी टिक करके आ जाता, क्योंकि बिकॉज कहीं ना कहीं समवेयर और द अदर कॉन्सेप्ट्स आर मैचिंग हियर। लीनियर इक्वेशन मेथड, वो आपको हिंट, बहुत बड़ा हिंट ऑलरेडी क्वेश्चन में दे चुका है, राइट? रिलेटेड टू द इक्वेशन बेस्ड अप्रोच। सो एक क्वेश्चन ऐसा डेफिनेटली आएगा, अगर आप उसको सॉल्व कर पाओ तो बहुत बढ़िया, नहीं तो आपको उसको छोड़ना है, नहीं तो आपको उसको छोड़ना है, राइट? 50 में से 50 क्वेश्चन कोई अटेंड नहीं करने वाला, राइट? एंड इट इज ऑलमोस्ट प्रैक्टिकली इम्पॉसिबल। मैं खुद भी जाके ये वाला पेपर दूंगा तो मैं भी एक आध क्वेश्चन तो रहने दूंगा जहां मैं कंफर्म नहीं हूंगा कि क्या करेक्ट चॉइस है, राइट? एंड दैट इज फाइन, दैट इज फाइन। एक क्वेश्चन ऐसा आएगा। अच्छा, टेल मी दिस वन, you need to calculate the prime cost. You need to calculate the prime cost from the given information. They have given you the opening stock of material, purchase, closing stock, direct labor, supervision salary, overheads, and direct expenses. You just need to calculate the prime cost here. So what do you guys? The correct choice will be 25,000 only. So opening stock. So what's there in the prime cost? Direct material consumed, direct labor, other direct expenses. Direct material consumed, opening stock plus purchase minus closing stock. So 4,000 plus 16,000 minus 8,000. That's my direct material consumed. Direct labor 7,000. Other direct expenses 6,000. So this will give you 25,000, right? This will give you 25,000. Next one. Dash is the process to ensure that appropriate action is being taken if the cost exceed a preset allowance, budgeted or maybe estimated, or actions to be taken if the costs are expected to exceed a expected level. When the cost is expected to exceed a certain level. That's a easy one. That's a easy one. Yes, that's cost control. That's cost control, right? Next one. A Limited received an order for which it purchased a special frame for manufacturing. Now I am a manufacturer. I received a special order, for example, from Sumesh. Now in order to manufacture this kind of product, I didn't have the frame, or I was not having adequate tools. So I purchased this frame for the manufacturing of this product. Direct material, direct expenses, factory overhead, admin overhead, or selling overhead. What do you think? Without this, I won't be able to manufacture this product. Is this frame incorporated in the product itself? No. But this frame is required to facilitate the same. It will be a part of your direct expenses. Special tools or frames for the special orders are nothing but direct expenses, because this is a special order. I can't use this frame anywhere else, right? So it doesn't work for me. It's not working for me if I classify this frame as a factory overhead. Why? Because it won't be a shared cost over different products. It won't be becoming an indirect cost, but I need to use it for a manufacturing of a particular product. Sir, why not direct material? Or I am not using this frame for the manufacturing of that. Let's suppose I'm manufacturing this pen. This is not plastic, this is a frame which will be used for the manufacturing of this particular pen, maybe to give it a shape, maybe to give it a special shape, right? So it becomes more related to direct expenses. This is not plastic or ink or nib of this pen. अगर होता तो मैं डायरेक्ट मटेरियल में डाल देता, बट आई एम जस्ट यूजिंग दिस फ्रेम एज अ फैसिलिटेटर, राइट? तो ना तो इनडायरेक्ट बना सकता। अरे यार, फैक्ट्री ओवरहेड में रेंट होता है, रेंट तो हर प्रोडक्ट के लिए काम में आ जाएगा ना। आप तो सारे प्रोडक्ट्स बना रहे हो, तो इट बिकम्स अ शेयर्ड रिसोर्स काइंड ऑफ अ थिंग। दैट्स व्हाई इट इज इनडायरेक्ट। इट इज इनडायरेक्टली पार्टिसिपेटिंग इन द मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ऑफ माई पेन, राइट? अब पेन के साथ रबड़ भी बना रहा हूं, कैलकुलेटर भी बना रहा हूं, तो रेंट तो सबके लिए भर रहा हूं ना। सो इट बिकम्स अ शेयर्ड रिसोर्स। अकाउंटेंट रख लिया, एडमिन ओवरहेड हो गया, तो अकाउंटेंट क्या बोल क्या है कि मैं तो सिर्फ पेन की अकाउंटिंग करूंगा? नहीं, वो तो सबकी अकाउंटिंग करेगा, शेयर्ड रिसोर्स हो गया। सेल्समैन क्या सिर्फ पेन बेचेगा? नहीं, वो तो शेयर्ड रिसोर्स हो गया, जो बोलेंगे वो बेचेगा। तो या तो डायरेक्ट मटेरियल या डायरेक्ट लेबर, दो में से एक कंफ्यूजन होने चाहिए। डायरेक्ट मटेरियल क्वेश्चन में कहीं लिखा हुआ नहीं है कि डायरेक्टली आई एम इनकॉर्पोरेटिंग दिस इन दी पेन इटसेल्फ। सो ये डायरेक्टली कहां चले जाएगा? डायरेक्ट एक्सपेंस में चले जाएगा। और डायरेक्ट एक्सपेंस मेरे लिए एक बेटर ऑप्शन बनता है। वाई? क्योंकि जब क्वेश्चन बहुत स्पेसिफिक नहीं होता है तो आंसर भी जनरल देना चाहिए, राइट? बहुत स्पेसिफिक नहीं देना चाहिए कि नहीं सर डायरेक्ट मटेरियल ही हो जाएगा। क्यों? क्योंकि क्वेश्चन ने कहीं ऐसा नहीं लिखा कि ये फ्रेम जो है वो प्रोडक्ट के अंदर यूज हो जाएगा। सही है ना? सो जनरल क्वेश्चन का जनरल आंसर। नेक्स्ट वन, लीन टेक्निक्स डिफाइन द वैल्यू फ्रॉम द पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ कस्टमर, मैनेजर, टीम मेंबर, सीईओ और द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एज अ होल। That's from a customer angle, right? That's from a customer angle. Next one, you need to tell me which of the following statements are true or false. So here we are having 5 statements. You guys need to tell me which of the following statements are true or false. So standard formats are used in management accounting. That's false. We never use standards format. Public document management accounting, false. Cost accounting cannot be installed without management accounting, false. Cost accounting is independent. Management accounting is interdependent on financial accounting and cost accounting. Assisting the shareholders in decision making is an objective of cost accounting. No, it's an objective of financial accounting. Financial accounting is historical in nature, yes. Based on past records and transaction, yes. Right? We always learn the concept of historical cost records, right? So option B here will be the correct choice. Option B here will be the correct choice. Next one, a very simple question. Salary paid to the plant supervisor is a part of what? I have paid the salary to the plant supervisor. That's a kind of factory overheads. Why? Plant supervisor. Plant supervisor. So plant must be there in my factory only. Plant must be there in my factory only, right? So it becomes factory overheads. It becomes my factory overheads and not administration cost, right? Plant supervisor must be working in the factory operations only. That's why it directly relates to the factory overheads. Next one. 200 units were introduced in a process in which 20 units is the normal loss. If the actual output is 190 units, then there is a possibility of what? Then there is a possibility of what? Abnormal gain of 10 units, right? Abnormal gain of 10 units. What is abnormal gain? Look, 200 units. 200 units I thought I have introduced in the process, but there is a normal loss usually in every industry, in every company. 20 will be the normal loss, 10% will be the normal loss, for example. So I expected 180 good units, but actually I got 190 units. Surprisingly, I got 190 units. So 10 unit will be my abnormal gain here. 10 unit will be my abnormal gain here, right? Usually in every industry in which I am operating, there's a 10% normal loss. But surprisingly, in my business, instead of 180, my production is 190, and we treat it as an abnormal gain. We treat it as an abnormal gain, right? We treat it as an abnormal gain. इफ देयर वाज 170 आउटपुट, तो आप बताओ क्या होता मेरे को अगर 170 आउटपुट होता तो? ये वाला तो कॉन्सेप्ट हमने पढ़ा हुआ है भाई। 180 मेरा एक्सपेक्टेशन था, पर अगर 170 हो गया, चलो यहां पे 170 ले लेते हैं, अगर 170 हो गया तो क्या होता 10 का? कोई बता सकता है मेरे को? एबनॉर्मल लॉस होता ना, राइट? एबनॉर्मल लॉस होता। फिर 180 आपकी एक्सपेक्टेशन थी, पर आपने तो और 170 बनाया, तो एबनॉर्मल लॉस हो गया। थोड़ा ज्यादा बन गया तो एबनॉर्मल गेन हो गया, एबनॉर्मल गेन हो गया, राइट? सर नॉर्मल गेन क्यों नहीं हुआ, एबनॉर्मल गेन क्यों हुआ? भाई नॉर्मल गेन हो सकता है क्या कभी? एक बात बताओ, मैं 200 लीटर का पेट्रोल लाया, क्या वो 210 लीटर का हो जाएगा? हो जाएगा, अगर आपने उसमें कुछ मिला दिया हो तो, राइट? अडल्ट्रेशन कर दिया हो तो डेफिनेटली हो जाएगा। सो नॉर्मल गेन तो हो नहीं सकता, नॉर्मल लॉस जरूर हो सकता है। जो 180 का 20 का हुआ, तो 180 मैंने बनाया, पर सरप्राइजिंगली मेरे पास 190 बच गया। सो आई कैन से दैट दिस 10 इज एन एबनॉर्मल गेन फॉर मी, इज एन एबनॉर्मल गेन फॉर मी। सबको लगता है सर नॉर्मल वाली रेंज में हुआ तो नॉर्मल गेन होना चाहिए ना। भाई नॉर्मल गेन का मतलब जितना तुमने आउटपुट डाला उससे भी ज्यादा बन गया, विच इज प्रैक्टिकली नॉट पॉसिबल, विच इज प्रैक्टिकली नॉट पॉसिबल, राइट? जनरली ये कंफ्यूजन आ जाता है, डीप थिंकर्स के माइंड में जनरली ये कंफ्यूजन आ जाता है कि सर नॉर्मल गेन क्यों नहीं हो सकता? नॉर्मल गेन होने के लिए तो आपको उसमें और कुछ मिलाना पड़ेगा, राइट? नेक्स्ट वन, डेप्रिसिएशन ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स लैपटॉप इज ट्रीटेड एज अ पार्ट ऑफ व्हाट? That will be a part of my admin overhead, right? Perfect. That will be a part of my admin overhead. Acha, tell me, dash is a wastage controlling technique, which means continuous improvement. बहुत ही simple है, right? बहुत ही simple है. The answer will be Kaizen. The answer will be Kaizen here. Salary paid to the factory store staff will obviously be part of my factory overheads, right? Factory का store staff है, तो factory overheads ही बनना है घूम फिर के. Which of the following section of Companies Act, now directly this is not a question of your cost accounting, but still हो सकता है एग्जाम में आ जाए. It will be a common part of your kind of Companies Act. Basically it falls in your Companies Act only, related to the cost accounting records. So section 148 relates to the audit of cost accounting records as per your Companies Act 2013, राइट? वहां पे हमने देखा भी था कि कितने तरह के कॉस्ट आपके वो होती है, ऑडिट होती है, डिपेंडिंग ऑन कि आप रेगुलेटेड सेक्टर में आते हो, नॉन रेगुलेटेड सेक्टर में आते हो. सो 148, जस्ट ट्राई टू रिमेंबर द सेक्शन नंबर. विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज अ पार्ट ऑफ 5S इन द लीन मैन्युफैक्चरिंग? The correct choice here will be option 1, 4 and 5. 1, 4 and 5 is the correct choice, right? Acha guys, I'll be giving you some of the homework questions as well for your practice, right? So later on you can download this PPT and check out those questions as well, okay? So that's all from my end for today. Thank you so much for attending the session. See you soon in the next session. Bye bye, take care.